And that's a highlight reel of perfection. We only promote when we got a raise. We only promote when we bought the car. We did not show the 14 times we got rejected. We show the one time we succeeded, right? And then people will look at that page. And if you name the last 10 times you benefited from something in your life, you put it all together and you think, wow, I've had a lot of stuff. But if the last 10 things that you had took 20 years to get, you're only getting one good thing every 2 years. And now you're really thinking about what kind of life you have. It works the opposite. When you only focus on the negative things, you can name 20 bad things that's happened to you over the last 50 years of your life. But with 365 days in a year, if only 20 negative things have happened in 50 years, it's not a lot of negative things that's going down. So when you consolidate a highlight reel on social media, it leads people to believe that that is who you are. For every new post, for every new video, their life is so good. When that 1 minute clip that took 10 minutes to edit is all they had, and the other 23 hours was crap, people aren't going to feel like they're not good enough to show the world who they really are. This is going to create a nasty cycle. We're going to feel shame, right? We're going to be ashamed of our desire for connection, which is why we're starting to call each other simps now, right? And we're going to put on a show of prideful indifference so that we're not being shamed and called a simp doing too much. Because if you do too much, you're simping. If you don't do enough, you're misogynistic. No middle ground, right? But that indifference that you're building is then going to prevent the very connection that you crave, leading to more rejection and more loneliness and even deeper feelings of shame. It is a self sabotaging loop that has left so many of us feeling completely exhausted. Because you got to think about it. If you're a fun person, happy go lucky, you put on this I'm serious behavior. And every time you leave the house, you have that I'm serious behavior. But you're like the funniest person in your group. The people that meet you are going to believe that you're serious. They're looking for a funny person. You're the guy or you're the girl. But because you're putting on this serious demeanor, you put this shield on to protect yourself from being vulnerable. They're going to see the serious you, not the fun you. And that ultimately is contradicting because had you not had your guard up, they would have had fun with you, which means they're getting away from you because you're too serious. They're walking away from you because you're not what they're looking for in the moment that they met you. Even though you might actually be exactly what they needed in life, they didn't get to see the rest of you before they left. So this is going to have a self sabotaging loop that continues to build on itself. Recent surveys show that an overwhelming majority of daters, around about 78% of them, report feeling emotionally or mentally exhausted by the experience of dating. This isn't just frustration, it is also burnout. It's a state of hopelessness where the effort of dating just doesn't feel worth the rewards anymore. And the constant act of suppressing our emotions doesn't just hurt our chances at finding love. It generally, research on our emotional suppression will link to a higher risk of anxiety and depression and can take a serious toll on our overall well being. So it's not just going to cause us to suppress our emotions, and it's not just going to interfere with our ability to find love. It is going to cause ongoing psychological and emotional complications that'll linger with us into the next attempt to find an engagement. So, what does this culture of pretending not to care actually look like? It's giving us a whole menu of toxic, low effort behaviors that have become so normal that we barely even question them anymore. And I'm just going to be clear with you. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe as y'all come in and mash those reaction buttons. This isn't just the guys doing it. And this isn't just the girls doing it. We have developed a social atmosphere that everybody's doing this to everybody. And it has become so normal that we don't even know that subconsciously we are acting in a toxic fashion that is depriving us from finding the happiness that we want in our lives. Right? These are going to be the quiet cruelties of modern dating, the unspoken rules of the game that nobody remembers agreeing to play, but everybody's playing the game. I don't know when you signed up, but we've been in this game for at least the last 25, 30 years. For those of us that's in our 30s and 40s, they're the actions that fill the void of loneliness without ever asking for the risk of real commitment. First up is the shadow menu. That is breadcrumbing and its close cousin, the backup bench. Ever had someone keep you on the hook with just enough attention to stop you from moving on? A random message here, late night text, you're up, give you a nice text, hey, you're busy. Maybe a fire emoji on your last Instagram story. That's breadcrumbing. It's the art of giving just enough interest to keep someone hopeful, but never enough actually to build something with. And this isn't just being in the friend zone as guys. This also happens when women are attracted to a dude and he communicates with her when he's going through things and she thinks that he's starting to connect with her now, but he's really just venting without actually paying for a therapist. It happens on both sides of the fence. You have that one person that you call a friend, but they're not really a friend. You communicate with them just enough to know that they'll answer the phone when you call, but you don't really want to hang around them. This happens a lot. The breadcrumber isn't looking for a real relationship. They're using you as a convenient source of validation to fight off their own boredom and sometimes their own loneliness. The psychology behind this is sneaky and very powerful. It is called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle that gets people hooked on slot machines and video games. The unpredictable nature of the reward, in this case, a text message, makes our brain crave it even more. Studies show this kind of inconsistency uh, of attention is much harder to walk away from than just being ignored. For the person on the receiving end, it's emotional starvation. You're being fed just enough to survive, but you're never getting a full meal. This behavior is often linked to attachment styles, which we've talked about on the show quite a few times several months ago. And those attachment styles that fear true intimacy, keeping connection at a safe, shallow level, is often going to lead us to the next area, which is the backup bench, a whole roster. And y'all know, oh, I got my roster, girl. I got my roster too. Some fellas is bragging about that. I got my roster. a backup bench. You have a whole roster of low effort connections that can be rotated to avoid ever feeling completely alone. You got a lot of females. I'm single by choice. I can get on my phone right now and call X, Y, and Z, and so will show up. You might have 30 people on your phone that will come to your aid at the drop of a hat. And you might have 30 people on your phone that you can hook up with, probably on the same day. But none of them 30 people are you having a long term permanent relationship with. You're still single by choice, right? Because the one you want doesn't want you. And the ones that want you, you don't want them, but you let them linger in your call logs. You let them linger in your text messages. Matter of fact, these days you let them linger in your DMs because you don't even have enough respect for them to give them your real phone number when they talk to you. I can tell you right now, Michael says he's got his calendar. He old school. He's 72 years old. He put a calendar on his door. He let the women come by and put the date they coming back on the door so that when they come back, they got an appointment. But let me tell you something, ladies, gentlemen. It don't matter if the ladies are doing it to the fellas or the fellas are doing it to the ladies. If you walk up to a person in person and y'all have any kind of communication, and one of you asks for the contact information of the other one, and they are only willing to give you their social media handle, they are not giving you direct connection to them because you are not a priority to them. They are putting you on a back burner on first contact. Because if they really wanted to stay in touch with you, they would have your direct phone number. And with NFC and data transfers, it ain't that hard. Tap one iPhone to the next iPhone and all the whole contact list swap over. You've got business cards with the NFC chips in them where you can touch the phone with a digital business card and have the whole company everything transferred. You don't even have to manually type it in anymore. You can Bluetooth one person's number to the next person, share data files in close quarters. That's it. So the fact that they'll put more effort in manually typing in, and actually they're going to make you do it, manually type in their social media handle so that you can follow them and wait for weeks in hopes for them to follow you back while they message you back and forward in the DMs. That's what we're talking about right now. They're not actually showing you that you are in any way, shape, or form meaningful to them in this moment. If I'm talking to you and all you got to offer me is your social media handle, then I'm just going to keep passing. But let's be honest. I've reached an age and I've reached a level of knowledge in this situation that I'm not even going to ask you for your contact information. If you want to talk to me, you're going to ask me for my contact information. And if I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to give you my phone number. If I'm not going to talk to you, I am not going to give you my podcast. Oh, you can hit me up on my channel. No, no, I didn't meet you on my channel. I met you in person. So you should get one step closer to me than the people that I talk to online. If a person that I've met online meets me in person, that person should get better treatment than the other people that's never met me in person. Just being serious. So think about that the next time you go interacting with somebody. Oh man, let me get your Instagram. That's back burner contact right there, bro. I'll let you get it, but if you really wanted to talk to me, you would have got my phone number. Even if you got my WhatsApp, even if you got my text now, it don't matter what kind of bootleg backup direct phone number that goes directly to my phone. If you get in my Facebook, if you get if you get in my TikTok handle, bro, you're not getting direct contact. And that means that you are on the bench, right? So This is going to be a strategy that is going to be born from the illusion of infinite choices that apps are going to give us. Because if I got like 42, 82, 83,000 people on this thing, infinite choices, right? 82,000 sounds like a lot in comparison to 380 something million. It's not a lot, but that's a lot of choices. But how many of them have my direct phone number? Out of 82,000, I think three, and two of them started this podcast with me, right? So you got to understand, this is going to cause you to tune people out and then turn others into options instead of individuals. So you're single by choice, 30 options that you don't want, but you have no problem with falling back on for emotional and psychological comfort. Sometimes physical connection, but nothing worth being serious with, nothing worth starting up a prenup with, nothing worth starting up a trust fund with, nothing worth setting up a wedding date for, nothing worth joint credit or joint bank accounts with. Just, a little something here and there, maybe get a little money from that person here and there, or a favor or whatever, a babysitter from all the bad choices that we make, but never a serious commitment. This is a problem. Next, we have the behavior that has become the signature move for modern dating, chronic ghosting. And I'm going to tell you something. It started probably hundreds of years ago when companies found that it was cheaper to only call back the hires and not put in the effort of contacting the ones that you weren't interested in. Only the 4-year institution, university, community college is the only place that I know of that takes the effort to contact every single applicant and tell them you either got in or you didn't. Even though it's a copy and paste and stick your name in there, the fact is they put forth the effort to contact every single applicant. We're pleased to inform you that means you got it. Doesn't matter what happens after that. We're sorry to inform you, or unfortunately, whatever happens after that is negative. You didn't get in. But they have a whole 1-page letter that shows that you either got accepted or you didn't. College is the only place that happens there. If you bomb the interview, they're not calling you back. Your application wasn't accepted, they're not going to call you back. That's where ghosting started. Now, ghosting is the ultimate act of avoiding conflict. Most importantly, because a lot of people, why? Why don't you want me? We don't want to go through that. It's uncomfortable. So now people are disappearing without a trace, cutting off all communication from one awkward moment without any warning. And a lot of times with no explanation, leaving the other person without closure, just to avoid the discomfort of an honest conversation. I think that what you did was fucked up. Instead of saying that, I just can't talk to him. I can't even look at him. So you don't communicate with him anymore. To the ghoster, it feels like the easy way out. They might tell themselves they don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, but it's really about avoiding their own. They're avoiding their own feelings of guilt and their own feelings of awkwardness. But for the person who's being ghosted, the impact is always, always devastating. And even when you're looking at these social media apps, ladies, it doesn't matter how many times you respond to somebody to politely tell them no, out of the 20,000 contacts that you received today, if you only told 5,000 of them no before your thumb started hurting, the other 15,000, you just have no choice but to let it go unanswered. You got other things to do. right? Fellas, we probably don't even check our app. We don't get that many hits that often. So if we had 7 or 10 of them that slid into our DMs in 30 days and we missed them because we ain't logged in 25 days, it is not intentional a lot of the time. Sometimes it is deliberate. But each time the person that does not get that response from you, that person does not get that closer from you, it devastates them. The human brain actually processes social rejection, even from being ghosted on the internet, in the same areas that it processes physical pain. So when you get kicked out of your alliance in your online game, you feel the same emotional distress that you do when you're getting kicked out of your spouse's house. The same distress that you felt as a kid when you were getting kicked out of your parents' house. The same way you felt bad when you got kicked out of your classroom during class. Doesn't feel good. Those are areas of rejection. I know a lot of people right now are like, damn, I remember what that felt like. Go to the principal's office, right? You were frustrated. You might have been mad, sad, and all kinds of other feelings, but you also had this burning feeling in your chest, butterflies in your stomach, and a knot in your throat as you grabbed your stuff and walked out of the room trying to make sure that you didn't let tears fall down your face as you left that classroom. Whether it was your fault or not doesn't matter. Rejection and exile impact us the same way, and ghosting online is the same as rejection and exile in person. The sudden silence leaves a void that your mind rushes to fill with self blame. We are harder on ourselves than society can ever be, no matter how stupid our decisions are. We might not have common sense. God gave Bessie bugs to some of us, but all of us are harder on ourselves than society can ever be. So the first thing we're going to hit ourselves with is, what did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong? Was it the comment not funny? Was it too inappropriate? The other person told a dirty joke, or the other person told a dad joke, and I just told a dark dad joke. What? Why they're not responding to me? What did I do? Did I piss them off? Was it something that I said? Am I not attractive enough? Did they just not like the way I look? They didn't like my attire. I'll go places with my dog. Did they not like the dog? I don't know. Bitches love dogs. But research will show that this lack of closure is going to be profound for each and every person, male and female alike. And it is damaging to your self esteem. And it can create deep trust issues that bleed into future relationships. And you got to understand this, ladies. Each time that a man is ghosted by and men get ghosted by women, men get rejected by women more often than women get rejected by men, and more often than women get accepted by men. So each time this man gets ignored, no closure. She left, didn't say why. We broke up. I didn't know that we broke up. I found out on social media. Or the relationship just dissolved. We don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. She might know what happened. Ladies, when this happens, it scars that man. It is what it is. But it men and women alike have the exact same feeling, but it's going to happen to men more often than it happens to women. But it does happen to women. When a woman is dating a man that's too far out of her league and he mistreats her and then disappears without a trace, she might have uh, uh, spent the night with him where he promised her the world before they slept together. And then after she woke up the next morning, he was gone, number disconnected and everything. It happens to the women too. It's not just the men. It's just the fact that when this does happen, it devastates the person. And it's going to reinforce the painful feelings of being disposable. This feeling that you're so insignificant that you weren't even worth a simple, hey, I'm not feeling a connection with you. This is the terrible downside to this dynamic. Here goes Michael. He says, or when you're calling, or no, when you are called, into the boss's office and your mind says, "What did I do now?" Though it wasn't a pay raise. Oh, no, he said it was a pay raise. Your mind always thinks the worst. Oh, that is a damn good example. When you are in the middle of the work field and your boss comes out the office, calls you from across the room, and then you have to follow the boss into the office. Everybody thinks you did something wrong. You go into the room, you sit down, you're sweating, you remember the last 12 things you did wrong that you hope you don't get caught for, and you're hoping that that's not the reason why they're firing you today, and you come to find out that they're giving you a raise for doing a good job. And the anxiety and the fear and the anguish that all wells up in you in the moment where you realize that this was a good thing. That exact feeling. We really beat ourselves up. He got the right idea. But look, that's not the only ones. We also got those ego swiping individuals and the gamification of dating. Now, let's be honest. How many times have you opened a dating app not because you're genuinely looking for a partner, but out of boredom, loneliness, or just for a quick hit of validation? You're not in the right place in your life right now, but you want to see what options are out there. You know, you're probably still in a relationship that you're trying to get yourself out of, but you're trying to see what else is out there. You don't necessarily communicate with these individuals, but you trigger their profile by liking their photo, and you might like the photo because you like the photo, not because you like the person in the photo, right? Oh, that was a good photo. Thumbs up, right? Right swipe because that was a good photo, not because I really want to get to know you better, but it gives off the wrong signal because every time you swipe, whether you swipe left or you swipe right, for every time you swipe left, it tunes the algorithm to not show you those types of accounts very often. But every time you swipe right, you notify the other account that you're interested when you're not. This is something that's huge. The apps are designed for this specific impulsive behavior, the swiping, the match notification, the endless stream of new faces. It's all structured like a game, almost like the roulette tables or Tetris. Each swipe is a pull of the lever, and each time a match hits is a small payout of dopamine. The brain feels good, the chemical boost it receives. This turns dating into an addictive cycle of chasing the validation of the match on the profile instead of the actual connection with the person after the match. We become compulsive users of the app, chasing the high of the match itself more than the person behind the profile. The data shows how this game is rigged to make almost everyone feel bad in the end. A Pew Research study, for example, highlighted how different the experience is by gender, with women being far more likely to feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of messages they receive, while men are more likely to feel insecure from the lack of messages. So I'm going to say that again. The women are going to feel far more overwhelmed by the sheer volume of messages that they receive, and the men are going to more likely feel insecure from the lack of messages that they receive. Now, you have to understand how that's going to work for you. As a woman, if you're overwhelmed by the quantity of compliments, if you're overwhelmed by the quantity of offers, if you're overwhelmed by the quantity of positioning of potential suitors, you are no longer going to be interested in the proposal. I don't give a fuck what you got to offer. I'm not interested just because I don't want to be bothered. Not because you're not a good guy, not because you don't have good character, Not because you don't got your stuff together, but because right now I just really don't want to think about it. Which, ironically, would be refreshing for a man to hear, but that's not what is being said. Usually, I got a boyfriend. Nope, nope, nope. I got a boyfriend. Or they shame you in front of the whole world and embarrass you for engaging because of being overwhelmed. Guys, on the other hand, guys are going to be more reluctant to get out there and try. If all of these people aren't hitting my line up on social media, then I must not be valuable, right? Especially if you're going through financial strife. If your money's not right, you got too many bills, you got too many transitions that haven't finalized themselves. You got more than one car, one runs bad, the other's in the shop. You're going through a foreclosure, your car's about to be repossessed. You're going through a civil case, child support, criminal case, probation. You don't really feel like you're in the right spot to defend your freedom and fight for a relationship at the same time. You got a lot of stuff going on. You just don't feel like you're worthy anymore. And the lack of connections on the social media page before they even find these things out about you, they're not even trying to hear it when you don't have a problem on the platform. So, God forbid you get into a conversation with somebody and you mention this, your value gets even lower. This whole process separates the act of dating from its real purpose. People become collectibles like Ash Ketchum. It's got to catch all of them. The goal becomes accumulating a large quantity of matches, not nurturing a specific relationship out of any one of those matches. Finally, we have the widespread issue of misrepresentation and constant impression management. Far too much on your plate. Far too much on your plate. And when people got a lot of things on their plate, they don't think right. You start making impulsive decisions. You start rushing to judgment. You act out of character. And a lot of times when you act out of character, the first time you're hanging around somebody, they're going to assume that's how you are. If you're acting out of character with somebody that's known you for 10 or 15 years, they know that that's not how you normally behave. But if this is the first day that you met me and I'm wilding out, you're going to assume that I'm always this way, right? So to prevent from being socially misperceived, a lot of people don't put themselves in positions where they have to put themselves in the spotlight. Now, in a world where you're judged in a split second, the pressure to perform is going to be immense. This leads to a culture of curated profiles. And it might be small things, using photos that are 5 years old because that's the last time that you look good. Exaggerating your job title instead of being a garbage truck driver, waste management engineer, or fibbing about one's height. 5'11", but you're going to say that you're 6'1", so that this girl that's 5'2" can like you. Saying that you're an entertainer because you're a stripper and you don't feel comfortable about saying that you're a stripper. In fact, it's quite common for people to misrepresent themselves online on a regular basis, often because their fear of rejection or they want to protect their privacy. So you don't need to know that I'm an adult escort. I just work for a living, which is why we call unethical behavior work. Because a neighborhood drug dealer is not going to call themselves the neighborhood drug dealer. The neighborhood drug dealer is going to claim, I put in work. Where? You can't name a job because they don't have one, right? This behavior is going to be driven by the same sense of shame and inadequacy, the belief that the real you isn't marketable. You guys got to understand that feeling is a trap. And it is not a trap that is imposed on you by somebody else. This is what you do to yourself based on your choices and your decisions. The more polished your profile seems, the more initial interest you might get. But this pressure to maintain a flawless image leads to what's called impression management, a state of constant performance anxiety. It creates an exhausting gap between you, where you're creating yourself, curating your information, and your real self, a gap that often leads to ghosting when an in person meeting threatens to reveal the truth. And this whole ecosystem of quiet cruelty is built on emotional avoidance, all in the name of playing it cool. So you might find yourself talking to this really hot chick. That might be really her in the photo, but that is really her from like 15 years ago. She's still okay, but she doesn't look nearly as good as she used to. Y'all hit it off. Y'all are talking. You would have accepted her as she is. She doesn't feel comfortable about the meetup. She agrees to the date, ends up not showing up. These things can happen. Guys, you might use your homeboy's profile photo because you know that he looks better than you. Lock down a chick. She's willing to go out on a date. You can't show up looking like somebody else. You end up ghosting her. It happens. Both sides of the fence. Michael says, carrying around a lot of keys. You have no idea which key opens what. An illusion of importance. Well, carrying around a lot of keys because you don't throw away any of the keys even when you no longer have access to the locks. That's called hoarding. Still attracted to a emotional need. I just can't think of which one off the top of my head, but it is subconsciously the unwillingness to part ways with the key that once had access to a lock. But when you think about it, if you go through your keychain, how many keys on your keychain actually access a lock that you're actually using right now? It's interesting. So, if any of this information that we've been talking about so far, because we're about halfway through, if it sounds uncomfortably familiar, consider subscribing to the channel because we dive into the complexities of modern life and it's going to help the channel more than you know because this channel being able to reach out to the masses will help you more than you know because half of the time we're going to point out the problem and the other half of the time we're going to talk about how to fix it. And if you start proactively putting forward effort in your life to change the things that are inside of your control, you can start seeing better things in yourself. Once you start improving yourself, holding yourself to a higher standard, then you can hold your network to a higher standard. And then you can curate your network based on the individuals that are willing to adhere to the higher standard versus those that will not adhere to the higher standard, which then allows you to elevate yourself. Because as you replace your network with a more valuable and more respectable network, you will find yourself being identified as the company that you keep. And if you keep a company of success, you will not be identified as a failure. Think about that. Now, these behaviors, the breadcrumbing, the ghosting, the endless ego swiping, they aren't just frustrating stories. They're like 1,000 paper cuts to the soul. And enough paper cuts can cause pretty serious wounds. They can almost kill you. Playing it cool is the bandage we slap on it, but underneath, we're still bleeding. The emotional toll of this dating landscape is huge. And we often mistake the symptoms for personal failure instead of a systemic problem. The most common result is going to be dating fatigue and learning apathy. After months or even years of swiping, years of hopeful messages that go nowhere, and years of being ghosted one too many times, a deep sense of weariness sets in. This is going to be dating burnout. The moment where you stop trying. You're not on social media anymore. You don't check your messages anymore. You're ghosting other people now to keep them from ghosting you. It is an emotional and mental exhaustion that builds until the thought of opening an app brings on a feeling of dread, not excitement. People describe feeling numb and disengaged, even if they still want a partner. And this can happen to the women that are overwhelmed by offers, being emotionally numb to the proposal because you've gotten too many of them. It makes a huge difference. An overwhelming number of daters, with some estimates as high as 80 to 90%, say they've felt this burnout in their life. And this often looks like cynicism. We tell ourselves, I just don't care anymore, or everyone is trash anyway, right? We devalue the whole dating culture to remove ourselves from it. But this apathy isn't a sign of strength, it is a symptom of emotional exhaustion. Your nervous system is trying to protect itself from more disappointment by shutting down. You're not over it, you're overwhelmed by it. Hand in hand with the burnouts comes the erosion of self worth and the feeling of being disposable. The very design of dating apps, with their infinite scroll of potential partners, creates what psychologists call the paradox of choice. Having options feels good at first, but too many choices often lead to paralysis and dissatisfaction. More dangerously, it creates a commodity complex. When there are always more options just a swipe away, people start to feel interchangeable and disposable. So if someone has a flaw or a conversation takes a little effort, it's easier to just ghost that person and move on to the next profile. You start to feel like just another face in a deck of cards, easily discarded. One of the wildest things about this is that conflict avoidant behavior, before you have an unacceptable conversation with your partner, you will get into a new relationship with a new partner. Instead of fixing the disgruntledness in your current relationship, you'll dismiss it and go into another relationship. And honest to God, ladies, it is easier for a woman to get out of her current relationship and get into another relationship because outside of the stuff that she wants to take with her, she has very little deliberate investment into the relationship. She might go half on the bills while she's staying there. She might go half on the groceries while she's staying there. She might go half on a car note while she's using it, but she is not putting aside money to buy a house with this person, where the house is the collateral. You're not married, you're dating, you're living together, saving money on expenses because someone else is easier to manage. She can leave and get with the other person. It doesn't work that well with men. One, because society does not value men that move in with a woman where it's her house. I don't understand it, but they don't. Society, men and women alike, just like, bro, you living off of her? Really? It's like that. Then, because typically, more often than not, because women do own their own places and lease their own stuff, and men do live with them a lot of times, especially when a man got evicted because he couldn't pay for his own bills. She used to be asking questions about that part. But when the woman is living with the man in the man's place and the relationship isn't going the way it should go, he's going to do the exact same thing. The only difference is he's not going to leave. He's got the chick on the side, the benched player. So now he's leaving the house, making excuses about working late, blah, 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 blah. The relationship that he has in the house is still in the house, but the relationship he has on the outside of the house, he lets it burn like Usher's Confessions. You guys got to understand this feeling of being expendable is one of the most painful unspoken truths of modern dating, and women are going to feel more expendable than men. Men are going to feel unattainable, like they're like nobody wants them. Women, the jealousy of women is going to come from women believing that no man wants to stay with them. But you're doing that to yourself because you left the majority of the last 20 relationships you were in. They didn't leave you, you left them, but that still hurt you. And now you believe that your new relationship will fail, but you're not thinking to yourself that that's probably because you're going to walk out again, not because he's going to leave you. But in the woe is me moment, they always leave. They always leave. They left because you changed the locks. What did you expect them to do? Wait for you to unlock the door? They left because you changed your address and you didn't give them the new address. They left because you put a restraining order on them. So you have to understand that the insecurity in a relationship where for those of you that's watching a show where you've got to track your partner to make sure that they're where they say they are, that's going to come from this type of unspoken insecurity from feeling expendable and excessively disposable, not because that's how you're being treated by your partner, but because that's how you have been able to treat people on social media. And you're going to reflect that upon yourself and feel like you're just as expendable as all of the people you swiped past, which then is projected onto your partner in your relationship, where you're going to feel like you're equally expendable to your partner. Even if your partner would lay their life down for you and breathe their last breath in your arms, you're not going to pay attention to that because you're in your own personal bubble of disarray. It's crazy. This is self inflicting information, everybody. This is not about trying to take shots on the other side of the fence. This is self inflicting behavior. And it's going to quietly chip away at your self esteem until you start to believe that you aren't worth the effort. Research consistently finds that dating apps and their users are reporting higher rates of anxiety, depression, and lowered self esteem compared to people who don't use the app at all. Beneath all of this constant low grade humming of quiet anxiety, this isn't a full blown panic attack. It's just a, you know, heart racing a little bit. Sometimes might feel like indigestion. Take you some Prilosec. You might find yourself unnecessarily taking more Tums in a week than most people. Anxiety can flare up in different ways. You can identify it as a nagging state of unease fueled by modern communication. Whenever you know that you got to interact with somebody, even if you're interacting with them on a platonic scenario, does it make you uncomfortable? You make you feel some kind of way. It ain't about you falling in love with them. It's about your nervous system going into overdrive because you know you have to interact with a real person. Yeah, that part. It's the anxiety of waiting for that text back, the over analyzing the meaning of a period at the end of a sentence. What he meant by that. The wondering why they stopped talking to you, why they left, why they packed up their stuff and moved on. And you could be having this at the most weirdest places. Like why did they pack up their stuff and move on? because it was a food truck and they were closed and it's time to go home. But you're not thinking about that. They left because of need. You got to understand this impacts you in a lot of ways that makes absolutely no sense in reality, but subconsciously it is destroying you because you're not paying attention to it. You're not curating it. And it is the stress of trying to be witty, attractive, and interested, but not too interested because you don't want to be seen as needy, right? And these are the micro rejections that we're not told to pay attention to. A lot of times we're like, hey, don't worry about those, let it go. A message that's left on red, they seen it but didn't respond to it. A conversation that goes cold, individually, they seem trivial, but over time, they create a state of constant social anxiety. Studies have found that being ghosted or breadcrumbed significantly increases feelings of anxiety and self doubt. Your brain is left in a state of unresolved tension, endlessly searching for an explanation that never comes. Perhaps the most insidious damage is the normalization of low quality treatment. Over time, we become conditioned to accept these toxic behaviors as just the way it is. But notice how all of the toxic behavior that I'm talking about is how you do it to yourself. This ain't about her doing it to him or him doing it to her. A lot of this stuff is about you doing it to yourself, but we accept it. Now, ghosting isn't a cruel act anymore. It's just part of dating culture. Being treated like an option isn't an insult anymore. It's just someone keeping their options open. Dating is no longer a one on one activity. What do I mean by that? Because most of us know when we go on a date, it is one on one. When I say dating isn't a one on one activity anymore, it is because you have one for every day of the week or one for every day of the month. And you're going on dates like unemployed people go on job interviews, and you're not committing to any of them. Like a freshman being drafted for the NFL, you're waiting on the first person to offer you the best deal. And this is men and women alike. And until you get the best deal, you're going to continue to communicate. You're going to continue to interact with them. You're going to continue to receive. You're going to continue to provide just enough to maintain connection with that person, just to make sure that if that turned out to be the best option, you didn't miss out on it. But do you realize that you can't hold 12 large things in two small hands? You're going to have to let something go. And the fear of letting go the wrong one, that's what causes us to linger in this situation. By accepting this as the new normal, we lower our standards for what we think we deserve, not what we know we should have. We build a tolerance for disrespect, allowing people to mistreat us instead of standing on our non negotiable expectations for behavior. And for women, this can be particularly true because with studies showing higher rates of unsolicited, explicit messages and harassment, further normalizing a hostile environment, this isn't just about bad dates. It's about a fundamental shift in our expectations of human decency. Now, instead of women dressing with modesty, women shame men for asking women to dress with modesty because it has become socially normalized to wear scantily clad outfits to look sexy. Matter of fact, a feminist movement went through having, oh, women can be topless. And they just as topless as men. But where's the modesty? The most valuable thing a woman has is her body, next to her mind. And why is that put on display? Why is the most valuable thing to her easily accessible to the society? Why is it not kept hidden away until a worthy individual comes to collect it? That's what the men are asking. The men are not asking the women to be servants of the man. The men are asking if that is the most valuable thing you got. Why are you letting everybody see it, sample it, and touch it? That should be the one thing nobody gets to see, sample, or touch because its value is based on its exclusivity. Lamborghinis are rare. Lamborghinis are prestigious because most people cannot get one. Most people have never rode in one. Very few people have been even able to sit on one, much less touch one. So if they can walk past one in public, it is like meeting a celebrity in a car. But if Ferrari was as common as a Toyota, if Lamborghini was as common as a Ford, everybody's got one, wouldn't be prestigious anymore, wouldn't hold high value anymore. And that is one of the reasons why a woman reducing her body count or not exacerbating her body count makes it more valuable than one that's got a 4-digit number. Special shout out to Soccer for Life. You're asking me what my dream car is, and that's not part of today's show. We're talking about, I know I use that as a metaphor, but we're more talking about um, the unspoken things that are negatively impacting dating. So I'm going to stick with what Steven said on the last 4 shows that we've had this week. That Toyota, that'll be the dream car to get. And really, I would go one step further and say a stick shift, and that's about it. Doesn't matter what kind. What matters is that it's a standard, and Toyotas never let you down. Doesn't even got to be a new one. Actually, one from, like Steven said, like 10 or 15 years ago, would be fantastic. Better fuel economy, lower price. Just rebuild the transmission, do an engine swap, last you for 700 years or 700 miles, 700,000 miles. Because actually, the original transmission can last you for 300,000 miles. And before you blow a head gasket, the car might actually run you about 400 to 500,000 miles. And by the time you need an engine swap, the car is discontinued and you're buying parts out of the salvage yard. So, that would be my dynamic. Now, we learn to expect less as a result of this. And then we also learn to accept less. And in doing so, we're going to teach ourselves that we are ultimately worth less. So here we are, caught in this cycle of performance and pain. It is easy to feel hopeless, to think modern dating is just broken. But the solution isn't to delete all the apps that you have to become a hermit, nor is it to just try harder and get a rigid position in the game. The way out is an internal shift. I never find you a problem without finding you a solution. It's about reclaiming your humanity in a system that tries to dehumanize you. It requires a conscious rebellion against the culture of what is perceived as socially cool. Make sure y'all like and subscribe as y'all come through here. Here are 3 truths to get you started. And I'm going to be putting a lot more of them in the membership coming soon. First truth: practice radical honesty. You got to do this with yourself as well as with other people. So you have to make sure that, especially with yourself, that you're practicing radical honesty. The first and most important step is to stop pretending that it doesn't hurt. The performance is exhausting and it's not protecting you. It is isolating you. Michael says, what are your pre-date interview questions for the women? That really depends on the woman. That's a good that's a good question for a show though. Um, and I could curate a list for that and put that into the membership. Okay, so normally when we start talking to individuals, we typically try to find out if they're in a relationship, if they have any kids, if they have any baggage, um, and then if they're available, if they're willing to go somewhere. Um, and then we stop. At that point, especially if the man is desperate, they really want to get to know this woman. That's another way of saying he really wants to sleep with this girl, right? So, in that dynamic, what do I got to do to convince you to go out with me? Causes men to really just find out what her availability is and her willingness to be involved. She's going to want to find out if I'm going to put up with this bullshit, exactly how much am I going to benefit from it because I really wasn't interested in the first place. If in the event that y'all go somewhere and you actually impressed her where her expectations were far exceeded, she's likely to give you the opportunity to oppress her a second time. This could turn onto a repetitive behavior. She didn't really want you to begin with, but y'all might end up sleeping together. Y'all might end up formulating a bond that could lead y'all into a situationship where she's not interested in going anywhere else at the moment, but you weren't what she was looking for in the beginning. One of the things that I believe, and I like the fact that you asked it as a pre-date interview question, but I typically don't really ask a lot of questions. I basically make declarative statements and see what their reactions are to them. But there should be a list of really interesting questions that we can create that can actually work this out with certain people. But it's not going to work on everyone, and it's different from person to person. What your expectations are. Say, for example, if you don't like smokers, you might have asthma, you might have really sensitive sinuses, and you're not okay with smokers. You're not going to reject a smoker on approach. But what you might do is you might look at their hands. You might look at, is that a cigarette tucked behind their ear? You might, if they're reaching into their purse and they're trying to pull out their cell phone and you see a pack of marbles as they move that aside to get to their phone, you might see them pull it out and actually use the cigarette in your presence. You don't tell them nothing about it, but you know that you're not going to involve yourself with a smoker. Once you see that pack of cigarettes, there's no first date. Take, for example, you might not like excessive alcoholism. If you're sitting there talking to a person and y'all get thirsty, you give them the opportunity to order something in your presence. They could have ordered a water, they could have ordered a soda, a juice, or something, but they ordered an alcoholic beverage. How many of them have they ordered? You may prejudge that as they're an alcoholic, and that would be a deal breaker, depending on where you're talking to them. If you're talking to them in the mall, they're going to be a big spender. So if they're in the mall and they're not an employee, they got all of these bags. You might be talking to them, but you're looking at counting the bags that they're carrying, and this person spends more money than they probably save. Um, if you're riding with a person in the car, lean over and look at that fuel gauge and see that that bad boy is almost on E. You're not going to put gas in it, but you're going to see if they're going to stop by a gas station. It's not like what is the right questions that I can ask that she's going to say that would indicate that she is a valuable woman to me, that would make her a valuable woman to all men. Truth be told, it's not going to be a question because didn't I tell you guys on the show before that one of the things that I expect in a woman is obedience? Women are going to feel like I'm misogynistic about that. But the reason why obedience is going to be important is because in a swift scenario, if I give you an instruction and you accomplish that, that's obedience. When your boss tells you to go take care of that customer, when your boss tells you to go wash the dishes in the kitchen, when your boss tells you to sweep up the floor before you clock out and go home, if your boss tells you to take out the trash before you leave the house, they're telling you, hey, I need this done before you leave the day. Help me out. But they're not going to ask you, would you please, if you feel so kind, as to do the closing work for your shift before you leave? No, they tell you, hey, before you clock out, make sure that kitchen's clean, and you'll do it. You won't complain. You won't talk bad about your boss. You're getting paid minimum wage to do this. But when you're with your partner, the person that you're supposed to dedicate the rest of your life to, I don't submit to anybody. I don't do blah, 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 blah. Rebel, rebel, rebel. Look, I don't want conflict. If I need you to take the other car and bring it to a different location, that should be all I say is go get the Cadillac and bring it to the shop. End of discussion. Not why I don't feel like it. I had something else I was going to do today. If you ask me, how do I get home from the shop? Because you're going to leave the car at the shop because that was the instructions. I'll come get you. That's it. That's it. So your obligation is what I said, go get the car, bring it to the shop. Since you're going to leave the car at the shop, you're going to call me when you get to the shop. I don't have to tell you that. Then you're going to tell me, car's at the shop. I need a ride. Then I'm going to come get you. Now that I'm in the car, remember I said, you've got something else to do today? Since there's only one car between the two of us, can you take me over here? That's it. Matter of fact, if you dropped off the car and then you called me and said, hey, well, I had a hair appointment that I was going to go to, but since I dropped off the car, you know, I don't have a ride. I'm coming to get you, take you to the hair appointment. Where's your hair appointment? What women don't understand is that the obedience from a man is expected. When a woman says pick up a couch, take out the trash, walk the dog, hold the baby, go answer the door, carry the refrigerator, go clean the gutters, mow the lawn, talk to the neighbor, that guy stole my purse. They expect a man to trip up and act immediately, and rightfully so. But mutual respect, since she's going to get an obedient man by default, if she says, baby, I'm hungry, I'm going to get up and go cook. Not because I'm a simp, but because I'm hungry too. And I'm going to make her something to eat. You know, so if I was to say the same thing, make me a sandwich, or, you know, I want some pasta today. You can't tell me what to do, what you expect me to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. So when I talk to a woman, my pre-date interview is not going to be a question, it's going to be a command. I want to see if you do it. If we're having if we're in a group discussion and everybody's talking over everybody, I might tell you, hold up a minute, I got this. If you shut up, I know you're gonna play by cue. I'm gonna let you know that now's not the time for you to talk, and you're gonna shut it down and let me take control of the situation. And when you see the results that I get when I talk, you're like, he's gonna be the one that shuts down every conversation every single time. Right? You find out what kind of man you have when you let your man lead. So if I'm talking to her and then I ask her to pause, well, you don't tell me what to do. Shit, you ain't going nowhere with me with that attitude. I just seen on social media earlier today and part yesterday, this guy was on the altar. They were saying their vows. And when we got to the word obey, she was willing to accept him when he was poor. She was willing to accept him when he was rich, having to hold in sickness and in health. But she was not willing to obey her man. And she was willing to embarrass her whole family in front of his whole family and lose out on the marriage specifically because she did not want to give him the mutual respect that he is going to give her by default. Because when a woman sends a man back to the grocery store to go get some shit that she didn't think about the first time he was at the grocery store, that's going to be the exact same instruction as I left my cell phone in the house, go get it for me. Mutual respect. Now, women prefer the delivery, but let's be real. It's not about the delivery, it's about the message. Gaslighting is about the delivery of the message. It's about, did you understand the words that were coming out of my mouth? When I told you that I left the keys in the house, did you lock the door with the keys in the house, or did you go in the house and go get the keys? This is what people don't think about. Now we got to break a window to get back into the house because the only key to unlock the door is inside the house. Trader says, I agree. If a woman is in a uh, competition with you for leadership roles at home, it's over. But Trader, if she's in a competition for dominance at first contact, it's over. So when you ask me what was the pre-dating questions that I ask a woman, I ain't got no questions for her because you're not going to give me the right answer. I'm looking for performance in your behavior. Like I told you before, if y'all are going somewhere and you take off your coat, stay still, and she don't move when you put the coat on her, wear that. It's cold. I'm not asking you for permission to keep you warm. I'm telling you it's cold outside. You're gonna wear this coat. Oh, I don't want to wear it. That's all right. Put the coat on and walk off. Where you going? That's it. You know what I mean? I'm not competing with you to take care of you. Within the first 48 hours that a man gets with a woman, and he's not sleeping with the woman in the first 48 hours, from the time he meets her, the first 48 hours, he's making sure she's not hurt. He's making sure she's not sick. He's making sure she's not wet. He's making sure that she's safe. He's making sure that she's fed. He makes sure that she gets home safe. And a lot of men will make sure that she gets home safe without him making a pass. And he offers more often than she expects it to pay for everything. In the first 48 hours that a woman meets a man, we're going to think about that for a second. You notice I ain't said nothing, right? Because all she's gonna do is ride that ride. She's not paying attention to all the stuff that he's willing to do. But if he is proactively anticipating your needs in the first 48 hours that you know him, he is going to expect you to anticipate his needs for the rest of your relationship. That's reciprocation. If you're not going to anticipate his needs, he now has to delegate his needs to you because you wasn't paying attention. That's where obey comes from. Because now, since you're not doing what I need you to do without me telling you to do it, now I have to tell you what I need done because it still needs to be done. She's not willing to do that because I didn't ask her permission to be helpful. Then in that situation, bro, I'm not even going to get to the first date. So there's a lot of ways that you can test her. You can test her by giving her a command for you to do something to aid her. Let me carry that for you. I didn't ask you for permission. Let it go. I'll walk it with you to the car. You don't let it go. Fuck it. I'm gone. I'll get the door for you. Oh, you got the door for me? Fuck it. I'm gone. You know, if I can't be a man in your presence in the first 20 minutes that I met you, then what the hell make me think that I'm going to be allowed to be a man in your presence 2 years into a relationship? If it's going to be your way, the only way, or the highway, at the end of the day, why am I trying to sign up for that program? Why am I investing in that program? So the pre-date interview, you know how some interviews are question based, but workforce jobs, the interview is performance based. Can you dig this ditch? Can you shovel this molehill into this wheelbarrow? Can you cook this order without me having to teach you how to do it? Can you run this cash register? Can you follow my instructions as a good wife would? Because if you can't, we're not going to make it there. You don't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed. You don't have to be the PhD of all women. You have to be able to cooperate. And cooperating means that sometimes you are not going to lead. There's going to be times where I don't know what to do and you do. And I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to ask you, what do you think we should do with this? And whatever your idea is, since I don't have an idea, let's try that first. But if I say let's go to the Cheesecake Factory and you start bitching, then I'm gonna just take you home. Because if I go to the Cheesecake Factory, I'm going to order. And if I order and you don't eat, your ass is hungry. But why am I even gonna take you with me somewhere where you gonna bitch the whole time that you there because you not satisfied that you didn't get what you wanted? I told y'all when you going out on a date, the first date that you going out on, you're not going out on a date to impress them. Fuck them. You're trying to get to know who the fuck they are to see if they value your shit. And that goes for men and women alike. But men, if you're paying, you are supposed to be making sure that your money is going towards your investment, which is supposed to be this relationship. So before I spend the first dollar, is she even going to cooperate with me? You got some women that want the man to decide, and that's fine. But a lot of those women are testing the man's wallet. Will he decide on something expensive or will he just decide to be cheap? Not a lot of women are looking at the decision making skills. And then the men are dumb as fuck because the men are going to do decisions that are based off of, ooh, lavish, impulsive, impressive, spontaneous. So now he's $2,000 worth of decisions instead of strategic. You might not have been here that day when I said, man, the perfect first date, the pre-date interview questions that you said, you know, what's your favorite meal that you haven't had in a long time? You tell me what that is. First date, we're going to go to the store. We're going to buy the groceries. We're going to pick out the ingredients together. We might even have to pick out some utensils and pots and stuff like that to make the meal with. Then we're going to go back to probably my house. We're going to go in the kitchen and we are going to make this meal together, talking the whole way through. Follow the recipe. See how close to what you were hoping for we were able to accomplish together. Then we're going to go and sit down and eat it together. Now, if we can accomplish this without fighting, we know that we can spend the next 20 years working together. But if this turns into an argument, if anybody gets frustrated, if anybody feels unappreciated, unheard, or undervalued, then we understand that the two of us don't communicate well enough for us to work out our relationship before we even got started. It's a fantastic first date that also has a consolation prize of let's split the food. Some Tupperware for you, Tupperware for me. We got leftovers from our first date. Don't nobody think about stuff like that. A strategic date, everybody benefits from. We get knowledge of each other and we're both walking away satisfied. Full stomach, extra leftovers, not a lot of money. Matter of fact, you can test the hand, grab all the ingredients, bring it to the store, bring it to the register, see if she offers to pay. She might offer to go half. Doesn't matter. Whoever pays for the food keeps the leftovers. So if we split the bill, we split the leftovers. If you pay for it, you keep the leftovers. If I pay for it, I keep the leftovers. So you're not wasting money on the ingredients at the grocery store. But if she thought that I was going to pay for it, even though I would have, that lets me know that she's selfish. By the time this date is over, we're not going to follow through with a long-standing relationship. So you're not really looking at pre-interview questions. You're looking at performance because men bring resources. So women are going to ask questions about those resources. Women bring effort outside of sex, outside of pretty looks. Women bring effort. So in order to test a woman's value, you got to test her fucking effort on the first date. You got to test her effort before the first date. Respectfully, low grade test of her effort. What is she willing to do for you appropriately, platonically? Nothing that's going to humiliate her, nothing that's going to embarrass her in public, but will she put in effort for you, especially on your command, to aid you, not just yes master, to actually aid you in being successful? And if she's willing to do that, you've got to keep her. There's a lot of flaws that y'all can work out, but if she's willing to cooperate, y'all are capable of negotiating. Trader said, good point. 90-day trial period, like on a new job. That's exactly what it is. They call it the honeymoon phase, but it is a 90-day trial period. And really and truly, the 90-day trial period, first you got to figure out if their background check is clean. So you're not just checking a criminal record, child support, children, Ex-boyfriends that's still coming around, ex-boyfriends that are their best friend. You got to look at their background check, right? Their employment. Do they have stable job? Not because you give a fuck about their money, but where are they going when they're not at work? Are they hanging out and partying like rock stars, or are they focusing on your 20-year plan? Are they trying to build for success, or are they just trying to live the life of Riley off of somebody else's efforts? And in that 90-day trial period, yeah, you're teaching her how to do what you need to do so that you can fulfill your obligations. She is going to be doing the same thing to you. Her likes, her wants, her needs. She's going to be training you to be the husband that she wants. You're going to be training her to be the wife that she wants. She cannot be on autopilot thinking that he better be the right man for me or else without thinking I better be the right man for him just in case. Just in case he is the right man for me, I better be the right woman for him. If she doesn't have that mentality, then at the end of the day, you're destined for failure because you're going to go into this relationship putting all of this effort up because you think you've got the one. And that's what women forget. Each time a man locks in, he is thinking this woman will be the woman that will stay with me for the rest of my life. And 6 months down the line, that is not true. But no woman is thinking this man I am going to give the rest of my life to. She's thinking maybe for tonight, maybe for the weekend, maybe for this trip to Spain. But as soon as we get back, I'm going to thump his ass for his brother. That's what the mentality is. They're planning their escape a lot of the times before anything else, instead of planning for their commitment. And it's no fault in failure in women. Women need that security and they need that, but they're not looking for the right thing the same way the men are not looking for the right thing. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not asking her shit. Remember, I told you that story about the girls in T-Mobile? I did not ask what their names were. Notice I never said their names. I did not say their names to keep it a secret, to keep from embarrassing them on social media because I had nothing negative to say about them. I don't know their names because I didn't give two shits when I was looking at them about what their names was. One person is married with children, and the other person only needed a free tutor because, as she admitted, she was dumb enough to only receive aid from a 15-year-old who has more knowledge about math than her in her nursing degree. That is what she said, not what I'm saying about her. So when she makes that comment, you do not value yourself. All you had to do was say, I am having trouble in math, and I heard you tell my colleague that you are a teacher. I asked her, what subject are you struggling in? What concept do you have trouble with? And she said, all of them. I'm so dumb, I have a 15-year-old trying to help me with math. That's her answer. If I thought she was the right height, she had the right personality as far as being upbeat and happy, she was attractive. She had the braces thing going, and I love braces. Physically perfect for what I would have assumed. Probably would have rated her somewhere around a 7.9, maybe 8.4, something like that. It at least for my standards. Petite, short, attractive, natural, long hair, whatever I was looking for, right? But the words that came out of her mouth fired herself. I did not even want to know what her name was. So the only pre-date question that I asked that woman was, what concept are you studying in math that you're struggling in? Not are you single? You see what I'm saying? If you don't give a fuck, women will tell on themselves. If you let them talk more than you talk about both of, because men peacock. That's what we do as men. We peacock. We brag and we boast about ourselves. We have this high paying job. We do this, we do that. We make a lot of money. We're important so that she can have value in us. I slipped up and mentioned the podcast, but I damn sure didn't give them a link to it. She just knows the ones exist. She's looking forward to me coming back to that store again when I buy an upgrade. Right now, I have a Samsung 834. And anybody who knows about the Samsung 834, that some bitch discontinued 5 years ago, and I still haven't replaced it. I have an S23 Ultra. The S26 just came out. So you understand, the next time I get a phone might be the S27. So her looking forward to seeing me again, not likely. If I go back to a store, it might be that one, but it might not be on a day that she's working because I didn't ask them for their phone numbers. I didn't give two shits. She was holding her phone in her hand, but she didn't ask me for my phone number. She missed her opportunity. If I would have gave it, she missed her opportunity. Recognizing yourself as a higher value man, you're no longer putting yourself in a position to beg. I'm not begging for your attention. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But the difference is that what I'm looking for, if I don't find it while we're having a casual conversation, hey, how was your day? How was work? Blah, blah, blah. And that conversation leads to you telling me something I don't want to hear about you. I'm not going to ask you on a first date. And between the one that was dumbing in a box of rocks and the one that was married, I would have taken the one that was dumbing in a box of rocks 20 years ago. That would have, quote unquote, been my type. But I realize now, with all the knowledge that I have gained and utilized and projected to you guys on this podcast, that not all the time is your type what you need. You might need to find something that's not your type. Because if your type ended in a toxic relationship, then your type might be toxicity. And if that's the case, you don't want to go. As soon as you recognize that that's your type, you need to be like Usher. You remind me of someone I once knew because you remind me of the toxicity that I normally find myself attracted to. You need to look at that and say, no, I'm not. So the old me 20 years ago would have been the me that's like, oh, you need a tutor. I'll do it for free just so that I can get in her pants. So I'm going to meet with you. I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to show you how to do that. She's going to get these dopamine hits, this euphoric thing because, oh my God, she's passing now. She's going to become codependent to me helping her with all of her school stuff because I got 3 degrees. So next to her professor, I'm like the best thing she can get. And in that scenario, I would have been developing an unhealthy codependency because ultimately that type of relationship would have been out of convenience. Only until she graduates from college would I be a situationship where I would be getting sex for education, work for tuition. But if I was looking for a long standing, healthy relationship, I would have to make sure that this person has goals, ambitions, and dreams that can mesh with my goals, ambitions, and dreams. That person's ability to follow instructions, that person's ability to cooperate. And if I don't find that when we're having a casual conversation, I'm not flagging you down. Oh, yeah, she looks good in that outfit, but I'm not running across the parking lot to get your name because you put on that outfit. But if we're standing in the same line and we're having a conversation and that conversation leads to you wanting my number, sure, sure, we'll see where that goes. But matter of fact, I was at the grocery store earlier today. The same grocery store with the shopping cart, the girl walked around the other side, and one of the cashiers came directly to my. We had a brother man over there cashing us out. Sister girl came up, the same sister girl that was checking us out before, that was petting my dog the last time. She had a nice little conversation with my pops. My father remembered her name. I still don't know her name, but she told me what her name was the last time she rang us up. I did not find value in the communication that I had. Doesn't mean that she's a bad person. It doesn't mean that she's not worthy of the right kind of person. But what I was looking for, I did not find it in the casual conversation that I had. So I did not move forward with trying to insist upon a date. Now, she might have not have been interested. I might not be her type. Her coming to my register might have been convenience. It could have been her register that she was just on break. And then when I'm cashing out, she shows back up. But also, she could have been interested, but it'd be ball in her court to show me the value that would make me want to open my wallet. So when you're doing those pre-date questions, I know I just did like 30 minutes on this one question. When you do a pre-date, you're not asking her for questions, trader. What you're doing is you're testing her performance. Women should test a man's performance outside of his wallet, but women don't. Women are gonna ask questions about financial stability. Women are gonna ask questions about resources. But men, the only thing men ask is, what do you like? What do you find fun? What's your favorite color, your favorite food, your favorite movie? What makes you happy? The answers to those questions don't make me happy. The answers to those questions doesn't show me that you are going to follow my lead, that you are going to sail on my ship, that you are not going to rock my boat. Those questions only shows me how do I keep you happy, happy wife, happy life, but I can stay miserable. I'm not asking those questions. I want to know that you can follow instructions. I want to know that you're going to cooperate. I want to know that if I tell you to help me, because I don't have time to ask you, please, can you help me? If I tell you to help me, that you're going to come help me. And the rare times that I do ask you for help, you need to get your ass over here. So I hope that that long-winded response answers your question. What you're looking for from her should be her ability to perform helpfully towards whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Because that grocery store discussion, if she's going to help you load the car, if she's going to help you unload the car, how does she package up the groceries? Is she going to help you organize the stuff y'all don't use later when y'all get back to the house? Is she going to be the kind of person that's organized, or is she going to be messier than you are? What she does is more important than what she says. Because while both men and women lie for different reasons about different things, a woman will promise you one thing and do something else. And what she's willing to do is what you can hold her to. She can promise everything under the sun until she gets what she's looking for. What she's willing to do after she got what she was looking for, that's the real her. And ladies, that goes the same way with dudes. A man will promise you the world just to get into your pants. After he got into your pants, what he's still willing to do, that's going to be the real him that you're going to be dealing with down the line. What's up, Snoop? What's up, Bibbin? Good to see you. Now, back to the main question, or not the main question, the main topic. we still, we still managed to tiptoe into a 2 hour show tonight. So, when you guys find yourselves in a situation where you get ghosted, it's gonna sting. The new way that you need to approach this is you need to acknowledge that sting. When you feel lonely after a night of mindless swiping, let yourself feel that loneliness. Don't try to drown your sorrows away by drinking. Don't try to distract yourself by hopping in a movie. Don't try to distract yourself by playing video games on your cell phone. If you find yourself in a situation where your chest hurts because you're in this bitch by yourself and don't nobody that value you exist in your current visual preference, acknowledge that, accept it. Your emotions are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign that you are a human being with a heart that wants to connect. Another thing that that benefits from is that when you let that out, when you release the tension from withholding and suppressing those feelings, you have a huge weight lifted off of you. A lot of times, especially if you're in a house by yourself, you might have to just let yourself cry because you've been repressing. You could have had a death in the family 15 years ago that you never faced. You have emotions that you've never addressed, and you might just need a really good cry to get that out. Once you release a lot of the emotions that you suppress, you will find yourself not only lighter, you'll find yourself able to think, able to breathe, because that tension puts pressure on your heart. That tension puts pressure, and I'm not talking about metaphorically, I mean physically. That anxiety is electrical signals that stimulates the heart, and that overworks your heart, which could lead to cardiac arrest. You could die from that. That pressure puts tension on your lungs. It puts tension on your breathing. That's why when you're sad, you're always, you know, fighting to get oxygen because your chest has contracted from the physical pain, from the emotional stress that you can't even breathe right. And that pain got them tears coming from your eyes. Not the emotion, the pain that is being triggered by the emotion got them tears coming from your eyes. Notice, even in a situation where you're supposed to cry, if you can't feel pain, not one tear comes out because there's no emotional pain or pain caused by emotional distress. So when you're in that situation where you're there by yourself and you realize it, acknowledge it. Give yourself permission to feel that disappointment, that hurt, or that frustration. By validating your own emotional experience, you take back the power that the culture that we have accepted and designed over the last 55 or 75 years, we stop allowing that culture of indifference from stealing our true core emotions. You stop blaming yourself for having feelings and start recognizing that your feelings are a normal response to a dysfunctional system. You're not broken. The system that you allow yourself to participate in is broken. You need to be able to feel and express your emotions to a magnitude where you're not actually feeling some kind of way. You're happy, sad, angry, frustrated, pissed off because of whatever the fuck just happened. You're not some kind of way. You can clearly identify the feeling. You're not catching shit because nobody's throwing nothing at you. You are experiencing an emotional shift. And whether it is a dysfunctional shift due to chaos or a positive shift due to a positive activity or an event, you are not catching anything. You are experiencing and expressing. And when you're capable of mentally and emotionally and psychologically holding the maturity to verbally articulate that, you have leveled up one step, maybe 10 steps, because you are at least able to face yourself with your own emotional security before you can face it with your friends and family. Because if you can't look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself how you really feel about shit, how can you tell anybody else? Because you the only person that's gonna listen to you at the end of the day. Everybody else is gonna say something. You are gonna be the only person that's gonna listen to you on any given day. And if you can't tell yourself how you really feel, how the hell are you gonna get it to somebody else? So that's the first thing you need to work on is the honest truth with yourself. The second thing, redefine the goals. For so long, the goal of dating has been framed as either winning or losing. Winning means getting matches on social media, going on dates, locking in that phone number, uh, 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 getting their deets, getting their DMs, get their social media accounts, locking someone down, getting involved in a relationship, a situationship, a consistent sex partner that is willing to admit that they're a consistent sex partner. That's what we consider a win. This framework is what fuels the anxiety and the sense of failure and a sense of desperation. Because until you can lock someone down, you put more and more effort into trying to lock someone down. It's cuffing season. You're the only person with nobody to snuggle with. You start putting a little bit more effort into trying to get somebody to snuggle with. Why? Get you some extra blankets. If it's cold outside, turn the heat up in the house. Sprawl out a little bit. You know what I mean? Somebody else should I have to be sitting in my lap blocking my view of my podcast so that I can feel like I'm not alone. See how many times I pushed the dog off the chair over the last year. He got tired of me pushing him off the chair. He don't even get up no more. The real goal isn't to win the game. The goal is to find authentic connections. And that's what I was talking to Trader about when he asked me about those interview questions. This is going to mean shifting your focus from quantity to quality. So you're not trying to make sure that she's willing to put out. That's what most men do right now. She puts on the kind of outfit that gives off the vibe that she's willing to put out with less effort. This attracts more men to her. More men are trying to get laid by her at least one time. They're going to spend a lot of money to get her. And if they can sleep with her at least one time, they accomplish their mission. If they can get a second or third, now they got the magic stick, right? Sex was so good the first time, I get a third round. That is the wrong focus. That is going after quantity. She could have a bad attitude. She could be a gold digger. She could have financial debt that you personally feel obligated to cover because she's giving you consistent sex where she's not asking you for nothing. You are offering it. She could have family complications. Her cousin went to jail. Now you mortgaging your house to bail him out because that's her favorite cousin. You could be literally compromising yourself as a man specifically because you're just trying to lock it in. Change your goals. One genuine, open hearted conversation is going to be worth more than 100 dead end matches. And a genuine conversation is not going to be about whether or not you're single and whether or not you're interested in dating me. A genuine conversation probes the mentality of the other person to find out what their thought process are, what kind of decision making skills they have, what kind of values that they hold, what kind of ambitions, what 20-year plan do they have? And if they don't have one, that's fine. But what 5-year plan do you have? Where do you plan on being at the end of this year? We're in March. We 25% of this year is gone. Where do you plan on being this summer? What's your goals? Not just what are you doing right now? What do you want to do when you're done with what you're doing right now? I need to be able to find these things out. So FX Trader, when you ask me, those are some questions you can ask. You're gonna have to replay the show, clip that, and then we're gonna make a shorts reel out of it. But those are the things that you need to figure out to make sure that this person is the one that you want to follow up with. Success is not a full date card. Actually, a full date card is failure all the way around. If you have 10 job interviews, your ass still ain't got no fucking job. 10 job interviews is not good. 10 jobs is good. 10 people trying to get you to sign a contract is good. But 10 appointments that you're waiting on somebody else for you to beg them to hire you, that's not good. Having a full dating card where you got 10 dates in the next 7 days that you're paying for, that's not good. That's not success. It's an interaction that leaves you feeling seen and respected. That's what you're looking for, even if it doesn't lead to a second date. So the conversations that I had at that T-Mobile store where those girls were talking to me and I actually felt more respected. Literally, she was fawning over me like I was Drake or somebody. And that has never happened in the 41 years of my life. But I fixed her marriage instead. I gave her all the advice that I give on this show to help her fix her marriage instead. But I walked away from that conversation feeling seen and respected, even though I didn't get anybody's name, I didn't get anybody's phone number. She knows what my well, the one that was fawning over me knows my name and phone number because she was helping me with my account. But the other person doesn't know my name and phone number. And if we met up the next time and they asked me for it because they caught me for the second time, I'd give it to them. But it's the principle of the fact that the first interaction was just about the interaction. It wasn't about an ulterior motive. if you're communicating with another person with an ulterior motive, if you don't achieve that ulterior motive, you're frustrated. If you had no motive outside of enjoying this conversation, you will find yourself enjoying the conversation more. If you're looking for a specific answer and they're not giving you that specific answer, your questions are going to start sounding more repetitive, where you're going to be asking the same thing in multiple different ways because you're trying to get to a specific answer that they're not giving you. And it's going to start feeling more like an interrogation. So you're not trying to have the first interaction to be you interrogating them or them interrogating you. Y'all want to understand each other and make sure that you walk away from this conversation feeling respected and seen. And then every effort that you perform, you have to be intentional about it. So I'm not going to ask them for their phone number because we were talking for 2 hours while we were waiting on technical support. I'm going to ask them for their phone number because I'm intentionally interested in pursuing something long term. So when it comes down to these dating apps, before you open an app, you want to ask yourself, what is going to be my intention right now? Am I looking for validation, or am I opening this app for connection? That small pause can be the difference between compulsive swiping and soul crushing rejection to mindful engagements. And for those of you that have those dating apps, but you have the free membership and you're not willing to upgrade, and you've already utilized the maximum quantity of responses to the other person, and you now have to buy the membership in order to respond to anybody else, you have to ask yourself, am I even going to pay to talk to anybody on this app? And if the answer to that question is no, then why are you logging in? Because if somebody hits you up, you can't even respond because it costs you $29.95 to join the membership so that you can respond to one person to even find out if they're even worth talking to. Now, remember, I just covered this on the show that some people utilize a dating app for profit. So their job is to interact with you so that you can upgrade to the membership. Some people's job is to interact with you so that you can buy their product off the dating platform. Some people turn the engagement with you into a dating contract where you become a sugar daddy. So, are you really on this thing for a real connection? Dating apps still don't make sense to me. People are literally everywhere. Stephen, people are literally everywhere on their phone. There are thousands of people right now. We're all in the same place at the same time on this YouTube channel. We're all in the same place at the same time on our phone. This is a habit. Well, I'm on my computer, but everybody else is on their phone. About 89% of the people that watch the show are watching it from their cell phone. Some people are using their tablet. And there's ironically about 5 or 10% that actually puts this on their TV. They're in their house right now, probably Michael, watching the show from the TV. They got a smart TV with YouTube on it. Well, I know you're responsible. I'm at work. When I'm not on my phone. Right. But you and I are old school, Michael. I mean, Steven. You and I are old school. Remember, you said you 36. I'm 41. We old school. The ladies that are 30 and 35, they're on their phone because they're bored. The men and women that are 25, 20, 19, 18, they're on their phone because they're bored. It is late night, 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, and they're not at the club. They're bored. Thursday night, Latin night. They don't have the money to go dancing with the chicks. They're bored. So they're doom scrolling through YouTube For You page, and they popped up on this one like, damn, this dude makes sense. And they stayed. But they logged into the app because they were bored. They will come back to this channel because they're interested. but they accidentally stumbled across this app because they were bored. And since I live stream for 2 hours and 11 minutes, I'm going to be at the top and the bottom of everybody's For You page. So you will hit this channel twice. Are you still here? Yes. Are you still here? Yes. Now, but you're right. You're right, Stephen. We should have more in person interactions, but we don't have as many in person interactions as we should. One of the reasons being is because with the overwhelming interaction that women have on social media, they're not willing to have interactions in person. Men receive so many rejections on social media, they're not comfortable with attempting an interaction in person. If the woman doesn't initiate the conversation, more often than not, very few men actually put forth the effort to start the conversation. And it's the irony because even bringing up that T-Mobile store, I stood there for 5 or 10 minutes debating which girl I was going to walk up to solve my technical support problem, the hot chick or the married chick, before I knew which one was which. And my deciding factor was that when I was next in line, the hot chick was already taken by a customer, which left me with the other chick. But had it been like, I'm going to do this, I would have beelined it to the hot chick. Old school me, 15, 20 years ago, I would have beelined it to the hot chick. Made it my mission to find an excuse to get her contact information. Make it a mission to make an excuse for us to see each other in person off the job. Make it my mission to make an excuse to make reoccurring interactions with her and turn that into what would have unfortunately have been a toxic relationship. Why? Because my actions and efforts would have not been from a genuine position. My goal to get that would have been the objective. And then once I got that, what do I do with it now? Get it again. But long term goals wasn't in that thought process. And that's why the relationship would have been toxic. Not because she's a toxic person, not because I'm a toxic person, because selfishness drove my decision to get with her, and selfishness drove her decision to get with me because she would have been getting with me because she needed a math teacher, and I would have been getting with her because I wanted to smash. Now this works in a lot of different ways because you got some women that'll hook up with a dude because he buys the weed and she smoked the weed. You got some girls that'll get with a dude because he buy the alcohol and she'll drink the alcohol. You got some girls that'll get with a dude because he put gas in her car. You got some girls that'll get with a dude because she will drive his car. Each dude is getting with the girl for somewhat of the same reason, to smash. It's an interaction of convenience. And this is going to be the reason why those relationships don't last because they weren't genuinely looking for long term. You said with your math about the perfect age match and me transferring to a new college in a few months, I'm gonna be like a kid in the candy store. I appreciate your content putting it out now. Look, you're 36, 50% of your age plus seven. So 50% of your age, half of 36 would be what, 18 plus seven, 25. The girl I was talking to that was dumbing in a box of rocks by her declaration, not by mine, because she was smarter than the girl that I was talking to when it came down to customer service and the ability to provide the product to the customer. But she was 25 too. Right up my alley, right up your alley. Now I'm 41, so 50% of my age would have been what, 20 and a half plus seven, which would have been 27 and a half. 25 is 2 years younger than that. Gave me 2 more years. If I wanted to mold her into the type of wife that I wanted, I still could have went after the chick, taught her what she needed to know to get her nursing degree, and then see if she would be capable of complying and cooperating with my expectations. But if I went down the path of trying to lock in the person first and then see if they fit before seeing if they fit and then using the fact that they fit to lock them in. The difference between the two is the difference between having a stable relationship that doesn't require a lot of effort versus having a relationship that requires a lot of work to keep it from falling apart. So when you go to that college campus, you have to make sure that you go to the college campus with the observation to find the person that works well with you. Peter said narcissistic behavior. That's not narcissistic behavior, buddy. Okay, narcissistic behavior, well, he's gaslighting, but narcissistic behavior is misrepresented because if you have a high level of pride in yourself, you can be egotistical. And if you prioritize your own ambitions and your own expectations, people are going to identify you as narcissistic. But the truth of the matter is that you're not really narcissistic because you want to make sure that the other person is going to put as much effort into your life as you're willing to put into theirs. Narcissistic is when you are selfishly going to acquire the other person for your own selfish desires with no expectations of satisfying their desires. The breadcrumbing, giving them just enough hope to keep leading them on without ever fulfilling their deepest desires. Ghosting them, the push and pull method, where you push them away when they get hooked and then you reel them back in before they decide to walk away. Narcissistic behavior can happen in a lot of different ways, but you have to understand that narcissistic mentality is being misrepresented. And it typically comes from people who have been emotionally disturbed in their life, where they really just want to identify anybody who has pride in themselves as narcissistic. A woman doesn't have to be narcissistic because she doesn't want to live with a broke man. She doesn't have to be narcissistic just because she doesn't want to walk everywhere with a man that has an expensive car. She doesn't have to be narcissistic because she wants to look nice for herself. But she also does not have to go shopping with my credit card when she's got a job. She also does not have to drive my brand new car when she's got her own. She also does not have to take my house with her when she leaves my relationship with her. That's not narcissistic, it's selfishness. But see, from first person accountability, I'm not in this show telling people, hey, only pay attention to somebody else's happiness, don't pay attention to yourself. But this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective. So I am going to first tell men, first, fellas, you have to figure out what you want out of this. And you have to make sure that you can get that. Because any man that identifies himself as a good man is going to be the kind of man that is going to be willing to give the woman anything that she wants to the best of his ability and everything that she needs to the best of his ability. Now, with that understand from the understanding of good men, if she's going to get what she's looking for out of her interaction with you, what narcissisticness exists when you're trying to make sure that you're going to get reciprocated for your efforts? How is it narcissistic? Because you're standing on your own principles? It's narcissistic because you don't want to be mistreated. You don't want to be devalued. You don't want to be used. That's not narcissistic. That's self preservation. You know that you're going to go into this spending money, but you don't want to start spending money out the gate. That's not narcissistic. That's self preservation. You don't want to start spending money at the beginning of the relationship because you want to make sure that you're going to stay in this relationship before you start opening your wallet. That's not narcissistic. That's not selfishness. That's self preservation. One of the biggest things that I tell y'all, which again isn't narcissistic, it's self preservation. If you take the common value out of the interaction, take his money out of the interaction and take her sex out of the interaction, and then you look at each other and see what else y'all bring to the table. What? Ask yourself, what would Jesse Jackson? Special shout out to Vince. Ask yourself what Jesse Jackson would do. Instead of, so you take his money off the table, you take her sex off the table, and when you take that off the table, you ask what each other's bringing to the table for one another. Because when he's broke, are you still getting everything else that you're looking for out of this relationship? And when she's not putting out, are you still getting whatever else that you're looking for out of a relationship? Are you looking for more in this relationship than just the sex with her? Is she looking for more in this relationship than just your money and your stuff? That's not narcissistic observations. The observation is that the holistic goal of a lifelong partnership is the capabilities for them to value you and be valued by you throughout the rest of your life. So if she's only valuable to the first sleepover, what are you going to do for the next 30 years if you already got what you were looking for on the first night? If she holds value outside of the bedroom, when as a man, you can't even take a blue pill to keep from peeing on your shoes, your junk don't work no more, that is not going to be what brings her to you. When you're 98 years old, you are not even going to be worried about sex. What is she going to be bringing to your table at that point? When you have no testosterone left to give, what is she bringing to the table for you at that point? See, when you start thinking about it, it's like, well, damn, that's a whole lot deeper than a lot of people really realize. So when we ask women, what do they bring to the table? Women don't know because they've never thought about it before. They immediately step back and talk about their career and their education, but that's what makes men valuable. And then they talk about their physical capability to give birth, but they're on birth control. They use contraceptives and they prefer abortion over childbirth. So if the three things that they're going to name besides cooking and cleaning and doing laundry and raising children, if you're gonna take those misogynistic claims out of what you bring to the table, if your career is what women value in men and your education is what women value in men, the childbirth is the only thing that you're bringing to the table that the man is going to benefit because you're not thinking about how else you can benefit the man. Being organized is a good characteristic. Being a planner is a good characteristic. Being an investor is a good characteristic. And there are some female investors that usually invest their divorce money to become multimillionaires, but they're good investors in some situations. There are wasteful spenders, but there are some that are good investors. You got to start them. You have business mindset. We covered Bangladesh, where like 90+% of the population's employment is a female workforce, female small business owners. Like women have ideas, but are any of your ideas that you bring into the table that's going to value this relationship? Or are you just in it for yourself because you want to wear that Coachella and the Chanel, right? So, ladies, for all the ladies that are watching the show right now, make sure y'all like and subscribe. But ask yourself, if you were to find the man that met your expectations and you knew that he would be willing and able to meet all of your expectations and provide you all of the things that you would want a man to provide for you, what outside the bedroom are you willing and capable of doing to bring value to that man? Because once sex is off the table, like nobody has an answer. But y'all marinate on that as we start talking about truth number three. You want to lead with authenticity, not with armor. If you're a class clown, be yourself. If you serious, don't try to be funny. This is the hardest step for a lot of people because it requires the one thing that we have been taught to fear: vulnerability. The culture of cool tells us to put on armor and present a flawless version of ourselves. But armor cannot connect with other armor. The only way to find a genuine connection is to be genuine yourself. The only way that you are going to find people of higher value is if you carry yourself with higher value, which is why it's not narcissistic to recognize your own self value. This doesn't mean emotionally dumping on the first date. What it means is being honest about what you're looking for. It means not being afraid to show enthusiasm when you're interested in something. It means communicating your boundaries clearly and respectfully. It means being willing to risk rejection in the pursuit of something real. Ladies, get out there and go initiate. Don't assume that all men are soft in the current generation and that's why they're not talking to you. Get that mindset out your head. Go over there, go talk to some of these dudes. Go don't I'm not saying hook up with them. I'm not saying take them out on dates and stuff. Pick their brain and see what kind of knowledge they got. Find out what kind of goals, ambitions, and drives they have. Build a census of the quality of men in your area. When you do decide to settle down on a dude, if you do decide to settle down on a dude, you will find yourself settling down on a dude in a market area where the dudes typically meet your expectations. If all the dudes is paying attention to the next GTA 6 and you trying to get your shit together and buy new houses, those dudes are not right for you. If the dudes is trying to get to the next frat party and they spending all they paycheck on the toga party outfit, where everybody who knows about a toga party, that's just a fucking sheet. He's not spending his money wisely. That's not beneficial for you. If you're talking dudes that's robbing Peter to pay Paul and can't keep their bills in order and they don't make enough money, but they're taking a bunch of days off from work, they're not responsible about their shit. So, ladies, you got to pick their brain. Don't wait for them to be thirsty about how you look. Dress conservatively, modestly, and when they're not paying attention to you, go over there and go figure out what's going on in their head. And then you can see what kind of dudes is in your neighborhood. You can see what kind of dudes is at your university. You can see what kind of dudes is at your job. You can see what kind of customers you got in your restaurants and shit. Because when they're not trying to get into your pants, that's when you get the real them. Taco says, I know what you mean. I spent my money wisely, all in on red. I will win eventually. You keep doing that, you gonna find yourself not winning nothing. Look what I said. I'm down 3,000, but I will win eventually. If you keep go, but that's gonna be the problem. The bait and switch factor. You're down 3,000. You keep going in, and when you keep keep going in, you hit that jackpot. You win 30 grand. You're up $10. You're excited about that 30 grand win, but if you're down 3,000 and you lose 3,000 every spin for 10 spins, and then you lost 30 grand, and then on the 11th spin, you win 30 back. Bro, at the end of the day, you spent the whole night there and you ain't got shit. That's equivalent to begging a girl to stop walking so that you can talk to her. If she walking so fast that she don't even want to tell you who the fuck she is, then clearly it doesn't matter anymore. I don't care if she was interested in you or not. because she could have wanted to sleep with you, but she didn't want to have a long-term relationship with you. So she is not trying to slow down on her pace. She probably saw you, knew you were going to approach her because of the outfit that she put on, that 8 other dudes had approached her on this journey. And she decided that she was going to walk faster so that she would not have to go through the embarrassing notion of rejecting you. Her anxiety. She didn't want to hurt your feelings. She didn't want to hurt her feelings. She didn't want you to reject her before you rejected. She didn't want you to reject her before she rejected you. So she just started walking faster. Now you're chasing her. Hey, hey, hey! Let me get your name. Let me get your number. Come on, let me talk to you. Blah blah blah. Bro, if she speed up, fuck her. Let her go. Because if she wanted to talk to you, she would linger. If she wanted to talk to you, she would stop walking. If she wanted to talk to you, if she was walking and she didn't notice you and then she look up and see you, she will turn around and come back to you. You should not have to chase her because if she's overwhelmed, she's on her phone. 2,000 different people offered to give her the world on her cell phone already. And now we got somebody in person. She ain't got time for that shit right now. But see, if you was minding your own business, ordering your Big Mac combo, and she decided to come over there while you was at the register and talk to you, not because she wanted you to buy her something, you just finished paying for your food and you step to the left. She just want to know who you are while you standing in line. That's the person you want to entertain because it's not about getting in her pants. It's about getting into her mind. Carl says, yes, this guy knows what the ladies think, obviously. Exactly. Exactly. I know you meant that in a sarcastic method, but no, exactly. I am knowing what's going on because, truth be told, even you, Kilroy, if you've tried to approach a girl and she's tried to dodge your first two advances, you understand that you're experiencing the exact same thing. She did not know how to tell you no, but she ended up just not doing it. She just gave in, started interacting with you. Then you start trying to bait her by buying her because as soon as you say, "Oh, I want to take you out," you're flagging her down because you want to spend money on her. So your goal is to get her to stay by offering her future compensation for today's interaction. If you wasn't offering her future compensation for today's interaction, would she have stopped walking? Probably not. Look at the gold digger videos. The ones who turn around and come back because they saw the car he was in. If he would have pulled up in the Porsche and flagged the girl down, he would have not gotten rejected because she was only interested in the Porsche. But when he was barefoot or when he was on the sidewalk and she was trying to interact with him before she knew that he was attached to the Porsche, she didn't want to have nothing to do with it. Now the downside is that if that Porsche is a rental, he don't own that Porsche. He just had that Porsche for the sake of that video. After she go out on a date with him in that Porsche, when he returned the Porsche back to where he got it from, and he driving the Geo Metro, she gonna drop him because she wasn't there with him for the genuine connection, and he presented a false narrative of who he was. So now she wants what she think he is, and then when she finds out what he really is, she's gonna walk away. That false advertisement goes both ways. It's not just about her fake hair, fake nails, and her heels. It's about his fake representation of his assets. So yeah, obviously, I know what's going on with the dating game right now. He says, so you're telling me is that if she's not interested in you, there's no point of chasing her because you're not going to win in the end. Yes, Taco. Yes. This isn't cat and mouse. Okay. You are not going to spend the next 30 years of your life trying to hold on to this relationship like a 24/7 hardcore title, where at any point the man walking past you could end up with your girl on his arm. You are not going to spend the next 30 years of your life with the fear or the insecurity that you might go to work, keep it on a down low, come back to the house, and she's in the house with the pool boy, and you ain't even got no damn pool. If she was not interested in you when you first walked up, If you use your assets to convince her to interact with you, she will only be there while the convenience of your resources are accessible to her. When the convenience of your resources is no longer accessible to her, your relationship will start getting difficult because the reason why she is here is no longer available. She wasn't here for you. And when you recognize that, you recognize that in order for you to find a person that is genuinely about you, you have to start the interaction not with your wallet, but with her mindset. You need to make sure that you are willing to commit to her mindset before you start spending money. So if I got to chase you, it ain't worth it. If you running from me, it ain't worth it. If I got to bribe you to entertain my time or entertain my intent, you're not worth it. Because if I found the right person that I wanted to give it all to, she should be the person that is willing to give it all to me. It's almost like this, Taco. Do you want a girl that's going to buy you your favorite thing for your birthday using your paycheck? Or do you want a girl that's going to give you what you need, even if you're broke and unemployed? That's what you got to ask yourself. Are you looking for the kind of person that will truthfully stand on for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health? Are you looking for that kind of person to love and to cherish, to have and obey? Yeah, we need that obey part. But if she's not willing to do the first six, she's not willing to do all the downsides. If she's not willing to be for the four par part or the four sick part or the unhealthy part, when times is tough, if she's not willing to stick it out when times is tough, that's not the one for you. So you need to find out before you start investing 20, 30, 40, $50,000 on this female, buying her all these gifts and taking her all these places and paying all her bills, where now you're staying in a relationship because you're not only emotionally invested, you're financially invested. Now you're self-sacrificing, happy wife, happy life, because I don't want to lose all of what I put into this relationship. And the most you're going to get is sex twice a month. So if you take all of that off the table and you prioritize, is this person going to be here with me, for the long haul? Then I've got the right person. So you're picking her brain for her mentality, not her college degree. You're not going to be asking her psych questions. You're not going to be asking her phys ed questions because, like Steven on the show here is going to do consulting after he gets out of college. I covered a show about concierge nurses. If the chick at the T-Mobile store would have been a concierge nurse, the fact is that she could have took that career and went somewhere with it. But am I going to be her angel investor? I have not even found out if I value her that much. And I haven't found out that she values me that much. You have to not pay before you find out where y'all stand. That's what explains what happened to my last relationship. I gave her whatever she wanted, but yet she cheated on me with two other guys. That's because you weren't the guy that she wanted. You was just giving her the stuff that she didn't have to pay for on her own. And sad to say, it is not her fault. A man will bribe a woman to stay in a committed relationship. But when she establishes an emotional connection with the kind of guy that she really wants, the relationship that she has is not relevant because she didn't want to be in this relationship. A lot of times, the women don't even know how they ended up in this relationship because you were just supposed to be going out for a good time. There wasn't supposed to be any commitment. There wasn't supposed to be any strings attached. But after quite a few times of y'all going out, after quite a few times of y'all having a good time, y'all ended up sleeping together. Then y'all ended up sleeping together on a regular basis. Then y'all ended up moving in together. But you're not the dude that she wanted. You might have would have been the big brother that she would have enjoyed the emotional connection to. But the lifelong relationship was not in the cards for you. But she didn't have the courage to tell you. You were paying. If men stop leading with their wallet, they stop putting that pressure on the women to choose between taking free stuff versus telling you the truth. That had it not been for this free stuff, I would not be talking to you. So when the other guy was saying, oh, narcissistic, no, as a man, if you stop, listen, watch, communicate a little bit, you can find out where her mindset is at. And none of that cost money. That conversation that I had with those girls in that phones company. I was in a T-Mobile phone store getting technical support. I had 2 hour conversation with these women and it cost me nothing. Actually, I got $150 off my phone bill. So I actually made money off of this interaction, but it cost me nothing to talk to two people and find out that their mindset was not where I wanted it to be. So why would I have to spend $200 on a date for each person? And I'd have to take them out on 3 or 4 different dates because if you take them out on a date where you're all not paying attention to each other, like a movie theater, you're just watching TV, so y'all didn't really get to know each other on that date. Laser tag, y'all are ripping and running and shooting and stuff. You're not really getting to know each other on that kind of date. You might get to get some communication in on bowling, but you're more trying to get the ball down the lane and you're more competitive than you are actually trying to figure out what the other person's got going on. Skating, you're just going around in circles. Y'all aren't really talking to one another. There aren't very many dates that we traditionally go on. Eating, all you're doing is shoving food in your mouth, so you're not really talking to one another. There aren't many dates that we think about when we think about the phrase dating. To be able to say that any of the things that we think of on a regular basis really builds a connection with one another. The buildup of getting her to agree to go on a date, that's the moment where y'all can find out the most stuff about the other person. And that's why when you ask me, yeah, if she's not going to slow down and entertain your discussion, it ain't worth it because you will have to bribe her. And if you got to bribe her, then she's not going to stay. So if you run out of money, if you don't have enough money, if an emergency comes up and you got to redirect your money, if she was only there for the money, once you stop putting out the money, she's going to stop being there. You said if she wanted to get out the relationship, why did she wait 3 years for it? It doesn't matter anyway. I kicked her out of my house a long time ago. The reason why is because for that 3 years you were paying for shit that she didn't have to pay for because you were offering. Some women will demand it after a while because they get used to you paying for things and they get used to your willingness to pay for it. And it'll go from being a courtesy to being an expectation. But in the beginning, the women usually stay in a relationship because you are offering to pay for stuff. You're buying her nice gifts, the jewelry, the watches, paying her cell phone bill, paying for her car, fixing the car that she's got, buying tires for it. You're paying for her rent, light, gas, whatever, groceries. You're giving her spending money to go hang out with the girls. All of these things that you're doing that subsidizes her standard of living so that she doesn't have to work so hard to have the same standard of living because that's the standard of living that she wanted. She just didn't want to put in the effort to get it, or she didn't mind putting in the effort to get it, and you insisted that you compensate. That's all it takes. If I was financially down here and now I'm financially up here and you're insisting that I stay up here at your expense, who am I to say no to that? That's going to be the mentality of a lot of women. But if you held your wallet, which do you believe that she would have lingered for 3 years if she didn't want you? I think not. If she wanted you and she lingered for the 3 years, the reason why y'all would not have worked out in that situation is the lack of communication and the lack of cooperative effort. So it's not like you can treat your partner like shit and they wanted to be with you and they're just going to stay and take that. That's not going to work. but you're more likely to communicate with your partner and you're more likely to build a long-standing relationship with your partner if you prioritize yourself and make sure that your partner is willing to value your expectations. Then you prioritize your partner. Because if you prioritize your partner first, you're spending all this money to convince it. And think about how you did it. You spent money to convince her to go out on a date with you. You spent money on multiple dates, convincing her to continue going out on a date with you. Then you spent money on her moving in with you. Then you spent money on taking care of her while she lived with you. And then when you got tired of this shit, you got rid of her. And only 10 to 30% of men will get rid of her. 80% of men will stay in that relationship. And you ultimately got rid of her because she cheated on you, not because you didn't like the way she treated you. You got rid of her because she cheated on you twice. So had she not cheated on you, you would still be in that relationship. Not a knock against you. This is what all of us men do. But it's time for us to change that. And that's why I say we need to prioritize a different way to approach our interactions. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. You have to understand the irony is that the observation of being cool in these dynamics is a facade that we use to avoid looking desperate. And this is a very thing that keeps us from finding the connection that we desperately want. Because men want connection, women want financial stability. Women hold the keys to the sex, and men hold the keys to the kingdom. Men will trade the kingdom for the connection. Women will trade the sex for the money, the resources. But if you want the connection and you control the resources, you should find the connection that you value before you allow access to the kingdom. Because she don't get what she wants, but are you going to get what you want? Okay, how about as a guy, if a woman did all of that for you, would you cheat on her? That's an interesting question. As a guy, if you find the kind of woman that you want, it is less likely that you're going to cheat on her. There are a lot of men that want to have more than one wife. They a wife with a girlfriend on the side. Most men have that fantasy of sleeping with two women at the same time. A lot of men are going to expect variety. Genetically speaking, it is inherently primal that all men are going to want to have multiple sex partners specifically because the ability to procreate. Each woman can only have one child at a time. Nick Cannon had 5 babies in 1 year because he had 5 women in the same year. No woman can have 5 babies in 1 year. So the natural experience, the natural expectation to reproduce is going to drive all men, including me, the desire to go and reproduce with a woman that's capable of reproducing. So if I was with a woman and she was doing whatever it is that I needed, and she crossed over the age where she's no longer able to bear children, and I still wanted to bear children, it is highly likely that I might find a woman that's young enough to bear children and have an extra child out of the relationship if I wasn't satisfied with the quantity of children that I had. That's what a lot of men who want to be fathers and build legacies might do. Yeah, you'll see that those affairs that happen, y'all have been together for since y'all were 20, y'all are 60, 50. She can't have kids no more. He just cheated on her and got a baby outside of the marriage. That's where that comes from. Because the ability to continue expanding the legacy stopped when she turned 40. But the emotional cheating, that's different. That's not something that men are going to do. The men are not going to detach themselves from their wives emotionally. They will maintain that emotional bond with their wives because she's giving them everything that he needs. So while that's going to be observed as a double standard, the fact is that if you're on the long haul, you reduce the probability of cheating by fulfilling the majority of the desires of your boyfriend or your husband. You don't eliminate the probability of cheating. You don't eliminate the probability of your wife cheating by curating her and making sure that she's about your agenda. But you can reduce the probability of cheating if you prioritize finding the type of woman that you want, where you're not settling for less than your expectations, where you're not going to find the right woman somewhere else because you have the right woman, you're less likely to cheat. If she's not mistreating you, you're less likely to cheat. Vice versa for her. If she finds the man that she wants, not just the stuff that she's willing to accept, if she finds the man that she wants. Because when you think about the mentality of the kind of women who could sleep with a man for money because that's her job, her emotional attachment to a man could cause her to quit that job. Now, if you were one of the clients of that job and she left you for the dude that she really wanted, she left the relationship because her emotional attachment wasn't to you when the relationship started. In order to fix that, you have to make sure that she is guaranteedly at least projecting the fact that she's all about you because she has no access to your resources. And you have to make sure that you are accepting exactly what you're looking for or something damn close to it. If she doesn't have the looks that you're looking for and you need those looks, don't settle for less looks. If she has a mentality that you're looking for but a piss poor attitude, don't accept the piss poor attitude. If she has the right attitude, she's a little bit bubbly but she's willing to learn, you might could teach her. But if you get one that's dumb as a box of rocks and too headstrong to listen, all she's going to do is make the situation harder. Don't put yourself in a position where y'all are going to be fighting because she doesn't understand and she doesn't want to cooperate either. And that has nothing to do with getting a woman that knows how to get it done and you don't got to tell her anything versus a woman that knows how to get it done and won't do anything until you ask for her permission. Bro, if I'm dying and I've got to ask you to save my life, then you're not somebody I want to rock with. This ain't Apex where I got to ask you for a med pack. At the end of the day, if you know I need you, you're supposed to be there. If you didn't know, then I'm supposed to tell you. But if you know that I need you, you're supposed to be there. And the reason being is because if I knew you needed me, I would go to you. So I'm only asking for reciprocation. My expectations for myself is what I'm willing to do for my partner, which also means that I have to make sure that I find the kind of person that is willing to treat me the way I'm willing to treat her. That doesn't mean I'm not going to cheat on her, and that doesn't mean that she's not going to cheat on me. But we're less likely to cheat on each other if we are meeting each other's expectations. But the relationship can get dull because we get comfortable with one another. We forget to continue to reciprocate with one another, and then we end up stop feeling validated in a relationship after a while. And if we don't put in effort to rekindle, one of us will find ourselves straying away from the relationship, typically 10, 15, 20 years into the relationship. It's bound to happen. Not because we're not a good fit. It's because we both stop trying after a while. But a relationship is easier to maintain if you make sure that you're in a good fit. It's hard to maintain when y'all are not a good fit. It's hard to maintain when y'all got together for the wrong reasons. You get a job that you're not qualified for, it's hard to keep that job. You get a car that don't run, it's hard to keep that bitch working. You get a relationship that doesn't fit, it's hard to stay in that relationship. Steven says, my friend put my furniture in his girl's apartment when he was starting over just out of jail. And she then said 2 weeks later, this ain't working out. Well, then your homeboy should have gone and got all your shit out of her apartment and brought it back. But that's exactly the thing. She wasn't with him because she respected him as a man. She let him move in because she was sympathetic to the fact that he was fresh out of jail and she could use the furniture that he was bringing with him. He did not show the improvement that she was expecting him to have without her telling him that he had to improve. And she got fed up quickly because that wasn't the man she was interested in. This went from a charity case to a problem child. and she's going to get rid of him and keep the furniture. A relationship out of convenience. Oh, new furniture. Oh, okay. That's even worse because he bought a whole bunch of shit fresh out of jail that he could have paid for his own place. I would still tell him go get that shit and bring it back. It is new furniture. You got a receipt. Bring that shit back. Get stole credit for it. Then when you do find a place, you can buy all new shit again. Look, true strength isn't being invulnerable. It's having the courage to be seen as you are. So I'm not sitting over here saying, oh, there is one perfect woman out there for every man. But that's not, while that's not the case, there's at least one woman that'll put up with your shit, and there's at least one man that'll put up with her shit. And if y'all find each other where y'all are willing to put up with each other's shit, y'all can negotiate not getting on each other's damn nerves. Now, if you like the way that delivery is, that's the same thing I've been saying for the last 3 hours. But it's mutual, it is uniform, it is universal, it is not one sided. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that person that's willing to do for you and deal with you the same way you're willing to do for them and deal with them. I don't know why she cheated on me with my brother and my friend when we had a healthy relationship. We know each other's parents and we go on dates. I gave her whatever she want to make her happy. You got some girls that want to get adventurous. You got some bros that want to smash your friend, you smash a girl because she was a hot chick, and you will find yourself in a position where because the opportunity arose, both dudes got a chance to smash because that's what they were wanting, closed-mindedly, not thinking about how that would impact their relationship with you because in the moment she was available and they wanted to smash. But her priority wasn't you in that moment. And you're never going to know why. And that's what we're talking about today. One of the things that nobody talks about in dating is that when she was done in the relationship, she was emotionally detached but still physically present. She was able to engage other men while still in a relationship with you. You don't have to do anything wrong. If this isn't what she wants anymore, and then she's just going to leave, you are left holding the bag and you don't have the closure. You are the one that is devastated. She emotionally ghosted you before she physically left the relationship, even though you made her leave. She physically left the relationship after she emotionally ghosted you, and that devastates you. You're going to now be in your next relationship concerned about the next girl cheating on you with your brother and your friend, which means you're not going to want your brother to know your girl. You're not going to want your friend to know your girl. You're going to spend less time with them when you're with her because you don't want them to smash her because you know they did it before, so you know they're willing to do it again. But that's also a problem with the network that you keep because your homeboys and your bros that are supposed to be on the bro code where they don't date your girl. They're not supposed to date your ex. She's supposed to be off limits to the group. So the fact that she was your current and the people that you're supposed to value the most was smashing your girl, that shows that they didn't have enough value in you. You've got to rethink how much time you spend with the men that don't have value in you as a man. It don't matter if the girl is for the streets. What matters is that the guys that you counted on or you should have been able to count on did not value you enough to not accept her advances if she was hitting on you and not hit on your girl if she wasn't hitting on them. Is that that's what I haven't been in the relationship for so long. Yeah, you're not going to be in a relationship for a very long time because one of the things that you're going to end up experiencing is some of them are dumb as fuck, some of them are selfish, some of them are needy. There are some that are really, really good. But by the time you get to that fourth one, the other three got you worried because of the one that just left. You might not get a chance to say hi, how you doing to the fourth one and find that right person because of the psychological and emotional trauma from the three you just talked to that you clearly can identify as toxic before you even got their phone number, and the one you just got rid of that clearly wasn't in your best interest. But this is why I'm not saying turn off your emotions. I'm saying don't act on them at first. Have open, clear, honest conversations, strictly platonic, with the only goal to learn about the other person. Your goal is not to go on a date. Your goal is not to turn them into a girlfriend. Your goal is not to turn them into a wife. Your goal is to just get to know this person. That's it. If they become a business partner, that's good. If they become a good friend, that's good. If they become a romantic partner, that's good. But you, as a man, determine where she falls in your life. You're not applying to be her boyfriend. You are seeing if she is qualifiable to be your girlfriend. And I understand that that's going to work on both sides because she should be treating you the same way. But if she is treating you the same way, guess what you just found? A reciprocating partner, which means that y'all would be able to work better together because whatever y'all don't agree on, y'all can negotiate because she knows you're willing to compromise for her and she's willing to compromise for you. But how do you know if you've got a girl that's willing to compromise for you? I mean, you can try it in a restaurant and order something different from her, and then y'all change plates and see if she'll let you eat her food, even though that's not what she wanted. But that doesn't mean that she's going to go to bat for you when times are tough. The only way that you're going to know that the girl that you're dating is willing to perform for you is if you put her in positions to perform. And you're not going to be able to put her in positions to perform if you're spending money entertaining if you're distracting her attention from performance. So find dates that makes her show you what kind of woman she is. Be creative. If it costs a little bit of money, set yourself a budget, 20, 30, $50 for the two of you. But make sure that it is the kind of date where she can show you what kind of person she is outside of sex. Because she could be egotistical about her three bachelor's degrees, but if she's a general manager at a fast food restaurant, I mean, she could be making $65,000 a year, but with 3 degrees, she's got like $70,000 worth of student debt. So I mean, does she feel self entitled because she's got degrees? Because if she feels self entitled because she's got degrees, she's not dumb, and you don't want to date a dumb girl, but she's going to be argumentative because she thinks she's always right, not willing to negotiate. Not too many men ask a girl that says that she's been to college and got a degree. Not too many men ask those women, how many communication classes have you taken? Because while it is an elective, psych classes, ethics classes, um, philosophy classes, and communication classes. Those are some of the four classes that you would really want a female college student to have taken so that they can start thinking outside of the box and stop considering tunnel vision selfishness in their decision making process. They don't start putting themselves in other people's shoes until they've written 15 or 20 essays based off of aristocracies and all of these other individuals. You got to understand, like, you don't open your mind until you're forced to. He said, nope, those two are dead to me. Even though they keep saying sorry and try to apologize. I didn't cut people off for far less. Matter of fact, I cut off one of my bros because he would not get his shit together. I tried to hook him up. Before they legalized weed, I had found him a 5 acre piece of property where they were going to lease him the property and break bread. He would have had 5 acres in a secluded area before they legalized weed. He would have a dispensary right now had he listened to me. And the person that was willing to do it had a hospital and he didn't want to show up. I stopped talking to him after that. You walked away on an opportunity where not only did you have a business partner, you could have distributed it to his patients and you turned away what could have been a multi-million-dollar deal because you wanted to smoke. So I've disowned people for less. They cheated on you and betrayed your trust. This guy just made a stupid decision, and I was just like, nope, I don't want to fuck with stupid. I am the ultimate opportunist. I am not going to allow myself to affiliate with an individual that will not take advantage of an opportunity. But what I can tell you though, bro, is that in all honesty, while you can't trust them for shit with your girlfriends, you're going to have to find a time in your life to forgive them for what they did, not for the sake of them, for the sake of you, because as long as you're not willing to forgive them, you are still emotionally impacted by this and you are holding the weight of those feelings. They are not. Yeah, they might feel a little bad about it, but at the end of the day, it's just I tried to talk to him, he's still not picking up, and they're going to go on about their day. They're still going to live their life. You are still hurt. You are still hurt. It benefits you to forgive them and let it go. If y'all end up talking again, if y'all end up hanging out again, y'all may never hang out again around women because you can't trust them. But you should not harbor emotions against these guys because they did what most men would do, which is try to smash a hot chick. I mean, in all honesty, I would not allow some of my closest friends. I got buddies right now that got the ability to wipe out all of my bank accounts, and I can trust them to manage my bank accounts. But I won't let them give my girlfriend a ride home. Certain places for certain aces. But at the end of the day, if you feel better with your life, keeping them out of it, that's fine. But childhood friends, lifelong brothers, you don't want to miss out on the rest of life because they made a bad choice. Right? Right. It's better for you to forgive them, let the situation go. Don't give them the opportunity to repeat it though, but forgive them. Because again, think about this. This relationship was new with you. 3 years, that's new. In a marriage, 10 years into a marriage, 15 years into a marriage, somebody gonna cheat with somebody for 2.5 years. It's always happened. And the marriages that last for 50 years has had at least one affair, if not three, between the two people, where one person cheated twice and the other person cheated once. And y'all forgive each other and y'all move on. I can't trust you for shit now, but at the end of the day, you still semi part of you're on probation now, but you're semi part of the inner circle. So release that emotional stress and forgive them for what they did. They've been apologizing forever. You can't make them hurt enough. Okay, just let it go. And one of the things you got to recognize is that if she was a valuable person, she would not have allowed that to happen. So in a way, they did you a favor because you're in it for 3 years. How would you have felt if you'd have been in it for 20 and your 18-year-old child turns out to not be yours? So you dodged the bullet. Real talk. If you make sure that you're putting your efforts into choosing authenticity, this is going to be the act of rebellion against the norm of pretending like shit doesn't matter. It is going to be a declaration that you are done playing the game that everybody else is comfortable with playing and you are ready to be real, real with yourself and real with the environment that's around you, even if you get hurt sometimes, because the potential rewards, a connection built on trust, loyalty, long term dedication and commitment, is worth that risk. It's worth trying to get back out there again, but you got to get back out there and be smart. The first time you tried to catch a fish, you stuck your hand in the water and got bit. The second time you try to fish, you go in there with a pole. Doesn't mean you're going to quit fishing. It just means you're going to fish a different way. You might have been trying with a pole and didn't catch anything and decide to start doing it with a net. You just got to find another way. But this way is intentional, not accidental. And this way, you're not going to lead with your resources. You're going to lead with your common sense. You're going to look, listen, and communicate. They will sell themselves out. It, honest to God, human beings are just like what you see them in the interrogation room on a TV. Sit there long enough and let them talk for themselves. You can pick their brain. You don't gotta say too much of nothing. You watch NCIS. What your boy do? Gibbs, majority of the time, he just stands there and listens to what everybody else says around him. He might stand right behind somebody and listen to them say something and then watch them backpedal. He will allow somebody to sell themselves out because all he did was stare at them and wait for their guilty conscience to want itself to be cleansed. And then they just start talking about stuff that they otherwise would not have talked about. But see, if you do all the talking in a relationship, boasting and bragging about yourself, trying to convince them to stay, you're not listening to nothing. So they don't have to say anything. They don't have to prove anything. But if you ain't got nothing to say because you want to know how she benefits you, not how you benefit her, she's going to do a lot more talking. You're going to do a lot more listening, and you're going to learn a lot more about her. That is not the favorite things that makes her happy in life. It's the things that she's willing to do to make you happy in life. The things she's willing to do to become more with you in life. The success she's willing to make with her relationship, not outside of her relationship. Because those self-driven career women that are willing to sacrifice their relationship to be a Fortune 500 woman, go get that job, girl. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be a wife and a mom as a head neurosurgeon. You're not going to be a wife and a mom as the general attorney for the state. You're not going to be a wife and a mom as the president's CEO, whatever. You're not going to. There's certain titles in a company that is called marrying the company for the reason. And a husband would not be a real husband for the sake of being present in the household because he's always at work for the exact same reason that it's not going to work when she does it. She's not going to be able to rise the corporate ladder any better than a man and still be available for the family. But it is socially acceptable for a man to be gone at work all the time and send the money back for the wife to take care of the house and the kids. It is not socially acceptable for the woman to disappear because she's not sending money back to the man or the kids. If she does something for the kids, they are not sending money back to the man. So if she climbs the corporate ladder, by all means, climb the corporate ladder. But you have to make sure that she is willing and capable of making time in her corporate climb to have a healthy, stable relationship with you. Because if not, it is your responsibility to not hold her back from her success and force her to choose between a relationship with you and her ambitions. Remove yourself from that relationship and allow her to chase her dreams. Let her be the most valuable woman she could possibly be, single. Because if she wants to be the next Supreme Justice, she ain't got time for your ass. And if you force that relationship, you would essentially be holding her back. And the resentment that she's going to have for you because of that is going to ruin your relationship. She's got to be there for a reason, and you got to be part of that reason. Now, that doesn't mean that women can't work and have relationships. They can. But all women who have been the girlfriend or the wife to a man that worked double overtime on his job knows what it takes to be successful as a man. So she knows what sacrifices that men make in their relationships and in their relationships with their children to get that kind of job. So she has to decide, do I want to have that kind of job or do I want to have a family? Or do I want to have some of that job and try to balance a family? And then you have to be able to figure out how you can help her with that, how you can navigate with that, as long as you're getting what you're looking for out of the relationship. Now, we spent a long time hiding the real pains of modern dating under layers of the observations of being cool. I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool, right? Carlito cool. The dating under a layer of cool is pretending that we're unaffected by the constant swiping, the ghosting, and the endless micro rejections. We've been guided by pride and haunted by shame, performing a role that has left us feeling more isolated than ever before. But the cool facade is a trap, a lonely prison that we've built for ourselves. This isn't forced upon us by some narcissistic person or some selfish person that's sabotaging our ability to live life. We do this to ourselves. That's why I'm talking to you about it. Because on this and that, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, it's about first person accountability. You got to fix yourself first before you can fix everything else around you. See, I don't know, man. I kind of agree with what you said, but at the same time, they could have just not slept with her instead of just telling me she was trying to have sex with you. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. I completely 100% agree with you. If she was making plays at them, they should have told you. I completely understand that. But I also understand that as a grown ass man, if these are your childhood friends, y'all done backed one another up for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. This girl was around for three. There is no reason why you should throw away a 20-year relationship with family or a 30-year relationship with a friend because of a chick that didn't know how to keep her legs closed. That old saying, bros before hoes, it does not mean that you are supposed to allow your homeboys and your brothers to devalue you and disrespect you, but it also does mean that when they realize that that type of behavior negatively impacted you, y'all haven't been talking for a long time. You should be able to give them a second swing, but just don't ever let them get close to your girl again. Odds are a genuine man that made a mistake, because most men have cheated at least once in their life, even myself. Most men have cheated at least once in their life. And if you regretted the outcome, you're likely not going to cheat again. If you've never cheated before, if you've never had that threesome, if you've never been in that orgy experience, when that experience presents itself, you're going to take advantage of it. At some point in your life, you will. You're going to want to see what that's like. But once you experience it, if you don't like the way the outcome was, you're not going to do it again. So just because these guys smashed the girl this one time doesn't mean that they're going to do it again. If they've smashed all of your girlfriends, then you just know you can't fuck with these guys. But if this is the first time and the only time that's ever happened, there is an opportunity for redemption. You can explain it to them just like you told it to me. It's like, bro, if you knew that she was a hoe, you should have just told me. You didn't have to prove it to me and smash. You know what I mean? But give them the opportunity to appropriately and effectively make up the wrongs that they've done to you, because atonement comes from the first step, which is forgiveness. They have to forgive themselves for what they did, but you got to forgive them too. Nothing's going to change until you forgive and give them the opportunity to do better. Now, if they refuse to do better, if they're going to sleep with your next girlfriend or at least try to, if they're flirting with your next girlfriend, it's like, bro, I can't talk to you while I'm talking to females because you're hitting on the girl that I'm talking to. But if y'all understand this long before you get into another relationship, that whoever it is that I'm talking to is off limits, and if she even pretends in a joking fashion that she might want to sleep with one of y'all, y'all better come and talk to me about it so that I can walk away from that relationship. Y'all come to an understanding. Steven said most. I would never. I'd break it off and be single before I played with someone. Right. Well, the younger years is usually when these mistakes happen. But it does happen later in the relationship when the emotions and the effort in the relationships aren't there. You start looking outside of your relationship for what's not in your relationship because you're comfortable with your partner, but you're looking for a little bit more excitement. So while you tell yourself, because you've never been presented that opportunity, while you tell yourself that you may never do it, if you found yourself committed to a relationship that you wasn't 100% happy with, you might be 70% happy with, but you're missing that other 30%. If that other 30% presents it to you at the right opportunity, you're going to be like, damn, now what do I do? Because I got to tell her, but I don't want to tell her because I know that that's going to mess up my relationship. If you had the benefit of experiences younger in life, and when I was experiencing it, I was like, what, 17, 18 years old. So, it's so many years ago. and you know the consequences of that. At the end of the day, you know that you're not likely to allow yourself to be put in that situation again by making sure that the type of person that you're desired is a type of person that you get with. But psychologically and emotionally settling for less. You want more, but you don't feel like you deserve more. It's just like if you drove a beat up Ford Escort because you can't afford a Phantom, and then somebody offers you the keys to a Phantom, you will leave that Ford Escort in a heartbeat and take off run. If you was driving a Ford Escort and somebody brought you a Hellcat with a Scat Pack, like that's yours, bro. You can do whatever you want with. You would take off in that, and it's the exact same thing. But if you had exactly what you wanted, if you had that Hellcat with the Scat Pack, and somebody rolled up with a Ford Focus on 22s and said, "Hey, this you," nah, that's all right, I'm good, because you already got what you want. You're less likely to be in that situation if you've already got what you want. But a lot of times, you're in a relationship, you're not with your partner in that moment, the opportunity to get laid presents itself, and you are compelled to say yes. And then the affair occurs. And after it happens, after everybody's gotten their jollies off, what do I do now? Somebody's going to tell, somebody's going to find out. And at that point, what do you do? So I would not personally say never, but I would say that it's less likely because you have strong morals and you have strong values. So you're not likely to willingly succumb to, but depending on the circumstances, it is possible. It is possible. Now, you might decide to yourself, nope, I'm going to either stay single and play the field, which no commitment allows you to have multiple partners without the shame of having multiple partners, or I'm going to dedicate myself to one person and then resist every opportunity for temptation, which is going to be an overexertion of resistance. Because the truth is that as an older man, when you are with a woman, you're more attracted by other women. More women are going to be attracted to you. So as hot as your chick is, hotter chicks are going to be approaching you because you're maintaining a hot chick. Women want what other women want. So while you're with a woman, more women are going to be around you. So even if you've got the exact one that you want, let one 15 years younger than yours come talking to you. You're going to rethink that statement. It's also, thank you for the advice. Maybe it's time for me to stop gambling and drinking and have a good rest of your night. Yeah, it's a good time for you to take a good night. Hey, make sure that you like and subscribe and swing back by tomorrow, because I know that we got Friday and Saturday. Saturday, we're going to be talking about different ways to improve our attire, and we got a good topic for us tomorrow as well. So, make sure that you take the time to tiptoe back over here and come and see what's going on. I appreciate you for coming by, though. Appreciate you. Now, the path to a healthier relationship, the path to more fulfilling connections, doesn't lie in mastering how to play the game that we've been talking about for the past 4 hours. It lies in having the courage to change the way that you play the game. So you're not trying to master it, you're trying to change the way you're involved in it. It's in a quiet rebellion of admitting something hurts when it does. The radical act of being honest about what you want instead of allowing people to tell you what you deserve. And the profound strength found in choosing vulnerability over emotional armor. It is about remembering that at the other end of that screen is another human being just as fragile and hopeful as you are. The most meaningful matches won't come from a better algorithm or a more polished profile. Look at what happened with TikTok. It's going to come when we show up as our whole authentic selves, not the curated one on social media. And we're going to be ready to connect, not just to compete. I'm just here to win. No, I'm here to achieve my goals. When we talk to each other, we've got to understand that we've talked a lot about unspoken pains. And we've gone over a lot of them for the fellas. Special shout out to Tacos and Steven. The reasons behind these pains, we have to understand them. So now, for those of you who haven't dove into the comment section yet, I want to hear from you guys as well. In the comments, make sure that you let me know which of the hidden pains that resonated with you, because Steven and Taco told me what resonates with them. Which ones resonate with you the most? Is it burnout, feeling disposable, or is it something else? If you share your experiences with us, this is going to be the first steps in realizing that you're not alone, because all of us feel that way, men and women alike. And it is time for us to have respect for ourselves and do different, because that's the way we can find ourselves better. Now, I want to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you all this information to help y'all become higher value men, because when you find the things in your life that you can control, these are the things in life that you need to change, the things that you don't like in your life that you can control. Then you can navigate around the things in your life that you cannot control. And ladies, while this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective, if you too use the information that I provide to you, you can find yourself become a higher value woman. Prioritizing your 20-year plan, reverse engineering your 20-year plan. How you doing there? And then making sure that you keep your eyes and ears open as you proactively execute your 20-year plan to see if you can find the right individuals to. I was reading the chat, but we're wrapping things up. Uh, to find the right individuals that could mesh with your 20-year plan. Because, ladies, if you find the right guy that has the same type of drive as you, that has the same expectations for a final retirement, oh, hey, I appreciate it. We typically start 3 hours and 30 minutes ago. So we're usually around 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when we start. The show is about helping you improve yourself, self development, self improvement. We provide you with financial information. We provide you with social improvement, relationship topics, everything under the sun that helps you build yourself up both financially in your business life, but also personally. This is a uniform podcast, so we're not a red pill, blue pill, black pill podcast. We come from a position of uniformity, so we provide you guys with the information to help you improve yourselves. And as I was just telling the ladies, that the ladies can take this information and use this as well, because if they change their mindset, they can find the right person that will mesh with their expectations. And fellas, if y'all change y'all mindset, y'all can find the right person that meshes with your expectations. Instead of going into it for all the wrong reasons, you can go into it intentionally with the goal of doing something other than getting laid, with the goal of something other than getting paid. And then you can find the type of life partner that you've always wanted. Because men and women both have different levels of desire to not be alone in their lives. Women prioritize that later in life, and men prioritize that earlier in life. But it takes a man 3/4 of his life to reach the financial status to be accepted by the type of woman that would want him. And since it takes him 3/4 of his life to get there, it is the man's responsibility to make sure that he has the kind of woman that he wants, that he's happy and satisfied with, not just because she's putting out, but because she meets all of his other expectations, that all of the other needs that he has is being provided for. Because if he's the type of good man that is willing to give her everything that she wants and needs to the best of his ability, he needs to make sure that he has a woman that's willing to reciprocate 100%. Which is one of the reasons why, as a man, looking for a woman that's willing to obey, because as a man, if I'm given an instruction from my woman, I'm willing to follow it if it's a reasonable request. So reciprocation is the expectation. So if a woman hears obey my man and she thinks red flags, that's not the right woman for me. But a woman that knows that if I tell him anything, he will get it done to the best of his ability, then she knows that I need to make sure that I do the same for him. So it's not about me pulling out my wallet and trying to impress her to make her stay. Paying for dinners and taking her out and convincing her to stay based on how much I wow her. It's about me finding out if I even want her to stay after the sex, if I even want her to be here for the long haul, if she's willing to do anything that I can benefit from, because women are helpers. And in order for you to know that the trainee is helpful, you got to give them the floor and let them run the show. and let them show you how helpful they can be. But if you're going to do everything for them, the helper is not going to help, because the helper gets used to not having to help because you continue to do it all for yourself. I'm going to make my helper work. Define obey for me. I just did. It's going to come. Negative individuals look at the word obey and they expect servitude. They expect getting commands like a puppy, and they treat it as such. But obey requires you to follow instructions without question. And that is important, especially in emergency situations, in short notice scenarios. If I've only got 1% on my phone and I need you to do something, I need to tell you what needs to be done, and then I'll explain it later. There's a lot of times where obey, where it occurs where you're in a conversation, you and your wife or you and your girlfriend asks you to go get the car, and you'll go get the car. Her asking you to go get the car in some situations could be her removing you from the situation without embarrassing you. Reverse scenario is if two men are talking and one man thinks that he might have to bust the other man in the mouth, he might tell his wife to go make us a cup of coffee. That puts her in the kitchen, not in the living room where everybody's about to fight. If she's willing to follow the instructions without asking, why do I gotta go? Why can't you do it? I need you to get out of this room. You just tipped off the other person and I'm about to bust his ass because you're defying my instructions. At the end of the day, the president of the United States obeys the commands of the civil service. 20 men tell a $4 billion man when he's allowed to walk into a room because he obeys the people that are assigned to protect him. So when you ask me to define obey, if you ask me to define obey, if my job is to protect you, your job is to listen to me. If my job is to provide for you, your job is to cooperate with me. Because a protector cannot protect if the people aren't willing to listen. Think about the people that's got protective details when they're a key witness in a murder trial, and then they dodge their protective detail. They just snuck off, and now they're murdered. If you don't listen to your protective detail and stay where they can see you so that they can keep you safe, they can't protect you. If you picking a man that's going to be a protector, you have to follow his instructions. Sometimes their instructions are to keep you safe. Sometimes their instructions are to help you out. But if you're the kind of person to proactively see the scenario for what it is, then you're proactively able to get in there and help where help is needed. Think about it like this, and I say this all the time on the show, and I'm going to wrap it up with this. The queen never makes the first move on a chessboard. It is not possible for the queen to make the first move on a chessboard. So it is ultimately the best position for the queen to follow the lead of the other person that's making the first move. Did that happen to you, the punching, kitching story? I mean, no, it was a metaphor. Why would it happen to? Okay, that's wild. I'm starting to feel like being trolled here. Because I used it as a metaphor, and you didn't know. Did it happen to you? The CIA story? No, you're like, oh, punching, kicking story. That's very petty. Look, the objective is this: in order for you to be in a healthy relationship, you have to be in a relationship with somebody that's willing to cooperate with you. A lot of times, you have the kind of partner that will ask you, what do you need and how can I help you and are you okay? And a lot of times you don't. The partner that does not ask you if they can help you, their partner that does not ask you if you're all right, if they don't have the capabilities to see you doing without, it is your duty to tell them what you don't have. Early on in a relationship is training phase of a relationship where you're teaching your partner your needs. When the car needs to go to the mechanic, when the phones need to be answered, when the kids got to go to daycare, you're teaching your partner the needs that needs to be adhered to. When certain groceries run out that y'all all use in the house, you know that it's time to go to the store and replace these items. If she's not going to the store to replace these items, then either I'm going to go to the store or I'm going to send you to the store. But if I went to the store and I came back with stuff and you wanted something I would go back out to the store. So likewise, if you're not planning on going to the store, I should be able to equally send you to the store because I currently don't have the time to do that. It's about mutual respect. So, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.